All right, everybody. It's your buddy. It's David. I'm here. Everything looks like it's good. The audio looks good. The sound looks good. So let me know if you guys are hearing me. I want to make sure that we're all set. And it looks good on the camera, but it takes about a half a minute to get any. Okay, yep. So there we go. People are saying they can hear it. Great. Wow, man. I have been very, very, very busy talking about this positive change is coming soon. I have gone all out. I only have a half a minute for each slide. If I get through all these slides, there's like 250 slides, and I want to get it done in 2 hours. Okay, you guys say you can hear me? How's everybody doing? Let's just, my hair looks freaking crazy. Crazy hair is part of the job. Okay, you guys can hear me. I wanted to show you the streaming, how it's coming in over here and how fast it is. Hey, Hun, thanks for being there. Hey, David. Hey, oh, love you, buddy. Everything is all good. Hi from South Australia, mate. There are going to be a few Colin McGee's here today, mate. It's just inevitable. But I have to play that part a little bit. This is an insider who actually worked for the Rothschilds in the secret space program. And I, last time, decided to open up with 2 skits that were both kind of disclosure comedy, where the idea is to, create something uncomfortable but funny that sheds light on the truth. So that cake boxes story may be a true story. As far as capturing an extraterrestrial, I don't know about that. That probably won't happen, but I just thought it was really funny. I also want to remind you that, there was a couple people saying, oh my God, some of the people in the comments, oh my God. You can see it right here, okay? So some of the people in the comments are very mean to me. And I wouldn't take it too seriously. My comedy has been field tested for many years in front of live audiences. I've studied it academically. I know what makes people laugh. I'm not worried about not having laugh tracks. If it's not funny to you, everybody else is laughing, so just relax. That's all. I don't need to defend myself. So anyway, what we're talking about today is that there is a cosmic battle between good and evil that has been raging on for millennia. And this is what's happening now in our world. If it all looks strange to you and you don't understand what's going on, you can't make any sense out of this, don't worry. The resolution is coming. All of the answers are coming. And it's going to be very, very amazing when we get the answer. So I wanted to start out today by again directing your attention to The Miracle of the Snow painting by Masolino de Panical, 1428 to 32, because this really does cement in the connection between UFOs like flying saucers and Christianity. Here you have what obviously looks like a mass UFO sighting. I mean, when have you ever seen that many weird clouds that are all shaped in like a round pancake? And they just all kind of happen to be there at the same time. Plus, there appears to be some type of geometric pattern in snow that this flying saucer created. Hence, the title of the piece is The Miracle of the Snow. So if you look at this image, you'll see that they are like shoveling the snow, and it's got this funny geometric pattern. So I believe this was one of the historical crop circles, only this time the ETs did it with a snow circle instead of with, man, I got something in my eye. The hell? The snow circle. So you can look at that, see that he's shoveling the thing. It's very interesting. And as we go into detail on this, you got Jesus and Mary around this rainbow halo. And it, and then down here again is where the crop circle was. In my last show, I also talked to you about Saint Germain's flying saucer, and I didn't actually show it to you. So this was something that is actually true, folks. Now try to shoot this one down. Oh, this was in 1789 that Voltaire, I believe it was 1789, that he commissioned this art illustration that you're looking at right here based upon his book, Micromegos, which was about ETs coming to Earth and assessing our population. Now, he did actually have a letter that he wrote to Saint Germain where he said that Saint Germain was involved in talking pictures, that Saint Germain was going to come back in the 1950s in his flying machine And then he commissioned this artwork and showed you what the flying machine actually looks like. And it is a traditional flying saucer. Now we're 200 years later, or 300 years later, than the Miracle of the Snow painting that we just saw before. So I go into great detail on these subjects in my relatively new product, The Sacred Science of the Michael Prophecies. You can find it at thedisclosure.com. If you enter the discount code Jubilation, you get an $83 discount. Now, I'm not going to keep promoting the product. We didn't really sell very many last time. So I don't have any other products right now. So if you've already heard about it, please give it a second look. It is a higher priced item, but we are still being very thoroughly attacked by the deep state. We do still need money. As soon as I don't need money, I don't intend to charge for any of my video work, or at least not be on like a Netflix type of subscription thing if I can get around to doing that. So once I have the money, I probably won't try to monetize any of my content. But right for now, if you go there, it's really, really going to help me out. I would seriously appreciate it. When I've heard about advertising on YouTube, they always want you to do it at the beginning. So I'm just going to leave it at the beginning, and then we're not going to go back there again. I might occasionally refer to it. So as I was saying, we're dealing with a cosmic battle between good and evil here. And in the process, we have historical artifacts like this. As I told you, this is my new Turkish lamp. And it sure does seem to inaugurate a flying saucer type of UFO contact. And even if we look here at camera 7, the top of it right here, let's see if I can get my hand, this actually looks like the stylized top of the typical flying saucer right here. And then obviously all the stuff that you see below it looks like, your typical flying saucers as well. So is that just a coincidence? No, that's because people in Turkey had this amazing sighting, and then they made these types of lamps to, get back into the flow and be like, wow, okay, we've got the truth now. So this is a cosmic battle between good and evil. And the work that I've done over the last 2.5 years has been recovering data that I channeled in the 1990s from Archangel Michael. Normally, I wouldn't think of channeling as being any good, but in this case, I did it right with remote viewing protocols. If you follow those protocols, they claim it can be 99% accurate. I was really disappointed when I did this stuff at the time because a lot of it didn't make sense. Now, basically, almost everything that was weird that it said turns out to be actually real. I saw some flyaways on my hair last time. I'm trying to get rid of that. Maybe we'll even just do a little water on top. Huh? That way there's absolutely no chance. It's so much better than hairspray. That's all I can say. I hate hairspray. So anyway, we've been dealing with a cosmic proxy war between good and evil. Both sides interact with our populace, and both sides, angels and demons, will make contact with human beings in person if you go far enough. Now, the positive beings are usually going to contact people who are meditators, people who have a high degree of spirituality, whereas the negative side is more apt to contact, what in the hell is in my eye? It's because I worked so fast trying to get ready for you guys. The positive side is contacting the good guys, people who meditate and are spiritual, whereas the negative side goes right to the top. They want governments, they want finance, they want corporations, they want military, and they want control of the planet. So it's a proxy war that's being fought between positive and negative beings, and they only can do what we allow them to do. So this is called the rules. It's a basic part of the game. Both sides have to follow these rules, which basically means they have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. We see lots and lots of evidence of this with the negative in Super Bowl halftime show, Grammys award ceremonies, Olympics opening and closing ceremonies. We have very, very strange, very redundant imagery that's quite negative, bloody, with lots of devil type of content in it. And this is not uncommon. It's something you see almost every year. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in some of our slides for this year. My point is that negative entities actually do contact those who identify as the elites, and the negative entities will actually teach them how to do a better job of stealing our money, lying to us, and keeping us under the boot heel. And this is all based on deception. Satan's greatest trick is convincing mankind he does not exist. That's a quote from Winston Churchill, and I'm paraphrasing it a little bit. Satan's great power. The devil's great power is convincing mankind he does not exist. I think that's about as close to the actual quote as I can get. Okay, so the point is that both sides are at this war, and we don't usually get to see this. We don't hear from the good guys very much. We don't hear from the bad guys directly. And both sides are just fighting it out by influencing humans who then have to fight each other. So it's like a proxy war. Like the Soviet Union did not want to fight America in a nuclear war, so we have the Korean War and we have Vietnam. Oh, we have to stop the Red Scare. We have to stop the Red Spread. Well, that was a proxy war with the Soviet Union that they said was happening in Korea and Vietnam, that they didn't want it to overload into a full-blown war. So that's another example of a proxy war. It's not that the superpowers fought directly, but they fought by arming the two sides of Vietnam or Korea. And in the U.S.'s side, they actually went in there. So this is important because telepathically, we're all being influenced by positive and negative entities. This is one of the most important points that I have to share with you. Your mind is being influenced by both sides. Please do not be arrogant enough to think that you can say a few prayers and negative entities are never going to bother you, or smudge or do a shamanic ceremony. Negative entities and positive entities, according to the law of one, which again is my source text, they are in a war for your consciousness, for your attention. And the way that they're trying to get that attention is by influencing you telepathically. So when you start having positive thoughts, you'll have more positive energy sent to you by positive beings. When you start thinking negative thoughts, negative entities will send you more negative thoughts. And so all of this proxy war has now built up to what has happened since 2020. And there are many anomalies surrounding the presidential inauguration. So first of all, Joe Biden, as you can see right here, was denied a military plane. He had to fly into his inauguration privately. What in the hell is that all about? Wait a minute, he had to fly in privately? Yeah, because the military wasn't supporting him. So this is what the military was doing when Biden arrived for his inauguration. That's a view from his motorcade, okay? He was in the car, he's looking out the window, and it doesn't look like it's a very favorable reception. Everybody had their back turned. Look at that. It's freaking crazy. And then what's even more strange is what you see here. Notice that none of the military have any of their gingerbread on. There's no insignias. Just take a close look, okay? Tell me if you see any badges. Do you see any medals? Do you see any other stuff going on here? No, they don't have anything on. And you compare this to George W. Bush's inauguration, and sure enough, they got the typical gingerbread. They got all the right stuff. So again, you go back to this one, and they got nothing on at all. They're all wearing this black. Now, okay, David, well, I don't believe that means anything. Ha, ha, ha. It doesn't matter that they didn't give him the official plane. The military didn't fly him in. It doesn't matter they turned their backs on him. It doesn't matter they were wearing any medals or insignias. Well, again, this is not really normal. This is what we saw during Bush's inauguration. And so something is going on here, but they're just not going to tell you. And then this was a video shot from a rooftop. I did this stuff back in 2021, where there was hardly anybody there except for the people who had to be there. The obligatory military audience is there. But if you look, the crowd is incredibly small, and everybody looks like the same uniformed military people wearing those dark black uniforms and nothing else. So here was a post from, again, January 21 with my buddy Red Pill 78. He was awesome. I haven't been watching him in a while, but I used to really be into this show 4 years ago. And it's inside the ugly transition at the Pentagon. He's describing on this that there was no nuclear football that was transferred. We'll get to that in a second. So then this also showed up right around the same time that we're talking about, early January, where the Washington Monument in the White House turned dark. And there was extensive evidence that Biden was not actually allowed into the White House at first. I think it eventually did change. But at first, they literally, look at this, they were literally broadcasting out of a set that apparently was not in the White House at all. Now, it could be that the alliance was, removing things from there. But this, again, is all evidence of really strange stuff. Another strange thing is that the House canceled all of its business during its first full week after Biden got into office. I think because they're trying to figure out what in the hell is going on here. Why are they doing this? And again, Trump did not go in there to welcome Joe to the WH. As you can see right here, there's another sign of really bad blood. And then he took the nuclear football and he didn't hand it over. Okay, well, that seems pretty freaking crazy, right? Look, they don't have the uniform insignias on. They're turning their backs. They didn't give him Air Force One. They wouldn't let him into the White House at first. And they wouldn't give him the football. Whoa. So I just looked that up on DuckDuckGo. Sure enough, this was, they say, well, they're going to give him a second. Don't worry. He'll still be able to nuke the planet. No, this was the military doing something very strange. And it's, again, part of this proxy war. You're not seeing the beings influencing the alliance. You're not seeing the beings influencing the other side. And in fact, probably most of the people in these organizations do not know that they are in a proxy war. They do not know about these beings, most of them. Most of them are probably innocent. You know, I'm not really against people who still don't see what's going on, because the information I'm sharing with you has never been on Fox. It's never been on any corporate TV. You're not going to see it. You're just not. So if you don't have the desire to study all this stuff, or if you haven't watched a video like the one I'm doing now, this is inscrutable information. You're not going to get this. And then also another strange thing that happened was that the National Guard was held in D.C. through the end of January, and they were kept in an underground bunker parking garage. Now, this was another really strange thing. This came out on January 17th. A mid-sized TV station had a visit from the FCC along with two unidentified individuals with badges. We don't know what agency they were with. It's really weird. We've been told to prepare for all of our programming to be preempted from 8 a.m. Wednesday for up to 72 hours. You could be held criminally liable if you don't allow this to air. And he's never seen anything like this after 30 years. They scared the shit out of him and his district manager, and he was almost in tears. Whoa! Yeah. So this was where I was like, wait a minute, is that the emergency messaging system? 72 hours, you're criminally liable. They've never seen anything else like this in 30 years. Yeah, they're getting ready to make an announcement. And this was another fake out that made us think, hey, maybe it's all going to happen in 2021. And I was, as you know, doing videos back then. The global very acrimonious divorce is what I called it. So what do I think is happening here? Before we go on, I was briefed in 2009, and then my Archangel Michael readings since 1996 were talking about a coup over the military-industrial complex and the UFO cover-up. We talked about Voltaire and his drawing of a UFO for Saint Germain. We showed you the miracle of the snow painting. These are Christian beings, and so these beings actually have appeared as Mother Mary. We talk about in the video course I did the Fatima sightings of 1917 in Portugal, where up to 90,000 people saw a flying disc in the air, and it dried everybody's clothes out. Let me just make sure we're all good here with the comments. You need to lead, grow up, lead yourself. Happy birthday, David. I don't know that 100% of what he's saying is true, but it sure explains a lot. I welcome his input and feedback. It's probably mostly correct. Hello, darling angel. God bless. Protection to you. Cosmic brother. All the military kept in the parking garage had almost no toilets, and the food issues gave them food poisoning. Wow, I didn't know that. That's really sad. I'm so glad I signed on this device with my email. I don't know we were going live. I only missed about 15 minutes. Yeah, you can catch the rest later. Two incorporated United States. Trump is still the president of one. Brandon is the illegitimate president of the other. Both are foreign mercenary corporations operating legal. I don't know about that, but yeah, okay. We channel positive entities, would like to share what we find with you. Please feel free to contact me. We love you, David. Happy birthday. David is correct. Can you discuss the stealing of your biofield? Our biofield. Yeah, we can do that later. That's part of what's going on is the negative. So anyway, let's get back to that slide. They were scared shitless. What is this? What happened? Why did these people come in with badges? Why were they talking to them? What the heck is going on here? Well, again, this is a proxy war, and I heard about the alliance back in 2009 that since the 1950s, during the time of Eisenhower, that there was an effort made. They called it the plan, and it was, hey, there's these really evil people. Howard Hughes found out about it. We need to stop them. How do we do that? It's going to take decades. So Kennedy was trying to do it. He passed this Executive Order 11110 that made it illegal to sell the silver out of the Treasury. Why was he stopping the Treasury from selling silver? Because he was making silver-backed currency that was not Federal Reserve notes. So that's pretty crazy, right? When When somebody's willing to go that far, you're like, darn, okay. And then all of a sudden he got killed right after he passed Executive Order 11110. So he was trying to enact this plan that they'd created. He got assassinated. We'll have a slide on him later showing you the very enigmatic shape of his grave where Kennedy was buried. But again, this is all part of the proxy war. There are positive ETs that contacted in 1958, Valiant Thor, human ET, landed and then went to the Pentagon, stayed there for 3 years. When I say human ET, I mean it's an energy being that projects into human form. And it's the same as Saint Germain. It's the same as the Miracle of the Snow. They come in a regular-looking flying saucer like we think of when we think of a flying disc. And those are the good guys. The bad guys might have other types of craft. Some of the craft are really nasty. Some of the craft are loaded with dead human bodies that are all in various states of decay. That's part of the negative. This is an Uncle Jack story. I'll give you another one, okay? This is true, mate. Mate, we had this thing called the Jason Society, and when they found one of these crashed discs, it wasn't a disc actually, in this case it was something else, but when they looked inside and they saw the horror, they said, mate, we can never disclose this to the public, never. Well, apparently, what's going on there is that there are reptilian ETs, and they are very nasty, and so they just like to set people free inside their ship, kill them and eat them inside the ship, and then leave all the debris sitting around. That's why they stink very badly. People don't want to be around them. This is apparently true. Now, in America, I don't think very many people are getting taken for this, but there are, a certain amount of people being lost every year. A lot of it is happening from illegal border crossings. That was one of the things I was told years ago. They called it meat wagons. And since a lot of the people that were dying were Latinos, there was a lot of racist joking going on. I heard all kinds of strange stuff about Mexican food and how it related to this. It didn't make me laugh. It was very disgusting. But the point is, yeah, there is real stuff going on. We need to stop it. It's not very many people, but it's enough that I don't want this to happen. It's like getting eaten by a bear or by a wolf if you're out in the woods or something like that. These things do happen to people. It's just in this case, it's an alien. But this is not the kind of stuff you want going on. And again, these beings are real. They're referred to in the Bible. Everything you think about the devil, Satan, it's true, man. And so that's one of the big things I've learned is that in the UFO cover-up, they've got deep underground military bases, and some of the military is working with the bad guys, and that's like your deep state, Illuminati, and some of the military is working with the good guys. That's your Valiant Thor, that's your Alliance. Now, the Alliance has been working behind the scenes for all these years. They've been doing this. They've been getting us ready for the big reveal where we find out that there's a much more organized, much more entrenched negativity on Earth than we could have ever imagined. It is real. We can't get around it. We have to deal with this. And again, it's a proxy war. So it really comes down to a battle for our consciousness and how we treat each other. Are we nice to each other? Are we evil? Do we create positive governments or do we create fascist dictatorships? What are we going to do with ourselves? So this is all a very big question. So I was talking in my last show about how the Alliance has been signaling references to my work. And again, the posts with the 17th letter of the alphabet, as we've discussed, that's the letter Q. Okay, those posts originated in late October of 2017 after I had been quoting from a woman named Mega Anon, who was sharing basically the same stuff and saying there's going to be this huge reveal of information. There's going to be people getting arrested. There might be some kind of a blackout. And after this all happens, then you're going to hear the truth. You're going to hear, wow, wait a minute. You're saying that these satanic aliens, okay, or extraterrestrials have been here this whole time. They find people they want to work with. They tell them what to do. And then those people become incredibly rich, incredibly powerful on a worldwide basis. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This goes all the way back through millennia of history. This is nothing new. Carthage, as I've said before, was involved in child sacrifice ceremonies, and they were doing this to Moloch. When Rome invaded them, they inherited the technology, if you want to call it that. They said, hey, this works. These beings actually show up, and they do what we want them to do, and they'll help us. So Rome then migrated to Great Britain, and Great Britain became the deep state. So you got three major deep state centers. You got Rome, which is the spiritual center. You've got City of London, which is the financial center. And you've got Washington, D.C. These are all nation states. The Vatican is the spiritual center. City of London is the financial center, etc. So what I'm saying is that in 2017, the Alliance started to show that they want to communicate in the same way I'd been talking about on my website. And they did this through the 17 posts. And so right near the end, there was some comms that came through that were very shocking that showed me they were paying attention to my work. This is from November 18th, 2022, the fourth to the last entry, 4963. I'm just going to read the bottom. It says, Patriots in trusted positions, trust yourself. You have seen the truth. Time to show the world. Focus, focus, ascension. Well, wait a minute. I'm the ascension guy, right? I'm the ascension guy. That's been my brand. And so here it is right here at the bottom. It says, focus, focus, time to show the world, ascension. Well, that's not normally something you'd expect to hear in the posts, but yet there it is. And this was just literally, November 18th was about a little less than a month before I finished book 1 of the Michael Prophecies, which is all about Archangel Michael, this alleged source in the 1990s that I channeled with remote viewing, that then starts predicting the future with stunning accuracy in the present. I was already doing videos on this. I was already reporting on this, but I'd fallen behind. The book was late, and they're telling me to focus and get it done. So this was just astonishing. Now, you could say, oh, David, you're making it all up. That's what everybody's going to do. The haters, at least, will do that. But no, no, no. There's so much more evidence. Let's look at the next one, okay? The next one is number 4966. This is the last time they've ever posted anything as 17, okay? They've never done anything again up until now. What is coded in your DNA? Who put it in there? This is my stuff. I mean, this is what I talk about. There's the Draco reptilians came here 250,000 years ago. It might have been 400,000 years ago. This is Uncle Jack stuff again. And they put their DNA into our DNA. So he said, this is why we have shingles. This is why we have sunburns. There's various health problems that we have. The appendix actually is a vestigial organ that they took out because if they left it in, it would take nutrients from your small intestine, run it back up to your liver, and that gives you so much more nutrition that you live for 900 years. So that was another thing he told me is that Draco took that out. So wait a minute, I'd already done videos on this, and here it is. What is coded in your DNA? Who put it there? Why? Mankind is repressed. We will be repressed no more. Information is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Information is power. How do you protect your DNA? There is a war for your DNA. Protect your DNA. Ascension. I have not taken credit for this yet, folks. That shows restraint. Now, trolls can say whatever they want. I really don't care. But this was November 27th, 2022. I have never taken credit for this one. But it's bang on the nose. The Archangel Michael, David Wilcock reference. There is a war for your DNA. How do you protect your DNA? Well, the DNA has Draco reptilian influences in it, and it also has angelic human ET influences in it. This is another very fascinating thing. Both sides have given us DNA. So we have spring-loaded DNA where some of us are going to be more ready for this than others, but you will be able to turn into one of these human ETs or similar to it because you have that DNA in you. But the principle of the proxy war, again, is this idea that you have to support whichever side you want to be on. If you want to be good, you got to have good thoughts, forgiveness, patience, compassion, understanding. If you want to be evil and you want to make it to the highest level of that, you have to do these ritual abuse ceremonies that are very disgusting and bloody, in which you apparently have a hallucination of some negative demonic creature. Apparently that's what they see. It's the result of ingesting hallucinogens. But the hallucinogens apparently allow some type of transdimensional effect to occur, as I've talked about before. So both of these sides are trying to use your DNA as an antenna. And again, the very last thing they ever said in the entire posts was protect your DNA and ascension, which is, there's nobody else talking about that except really for me. So I was just absolutely stunned when I saw this. How do you protect your DNA? And again, the answer is, we have to have a personal renaissance within ourselves, and we also have to fearlessly fight to protect our planet. Now, here's another thing that was very, very, very bizarre, folks. This came out on April 10th, 2023, where the opposition, okay, this is like the CIA side, they say, yeah, there's going to be a mass ET contact event, not in 2025, which is what Michael said. They just took the same exact information that I'd already disclosed, or that Michael had disclosed through me, whatever Archangel Michael is, supposedly the highest angel in the pantheon, according to the Bible. All right, he's the main guy responsible for the defeat of Satan. And he says they're coming back by the middle of 2025. That's the main point of the Michael prophecies. You can go read the 7 books. It talks about it in each one of them. You can go watch the 11 videos. It talks about it in each one of them. Now, this is actually, the headline is from How and Wise, ex-CIA officer on UFOs and aliens. They are showing up in 2027. On Podcast UFO with Martin Willis, I'm reading the article now by Vicky Verma, who's, again, he's awesome. I mean, he posts like I don't know how he does it, man. Vicky Verma's posting on Twitter like every day, so God bless you, brother. If you got a big creative team helping you, that's incredible. He does way more than I do, so I got to give my hats off to him. On Podcast UFO with Martin Willis, this is his article, Ramirez claimed that the government is aware of an impending event in 2027 which will reveal something quite significant, so people are being prepared. He has been stating there is a presence on Earth, which he refers to as demonic, who are just projecting their own belief systems to make us disbelieve in what we believe. There you go. That's the Michael prophecies. Negative ETs are demonic. Same thing. So, Willis asked Ramirez what would happen if there was a mass landing. Would we just simply prepare for a conflict, or would we actually initiate something? The former CIA guy replied, I think the dialogue we have now in this country, even with the recent legislation that passed through the legislature and is on its way up to the president's desk, is preparing the U.S. population and by extension the world population for the reality that there is a presence here that we need to explain. Whoa, but it gets better. Hold on. If they show up and we continue to do what we did before in previous decades, there will be mass panic. I don't think so, because it's actually energy change and you feel incredibly high and blissed out as this is happening. But that's another story. If we understand that these are real and we have 5 years from 2022, or maybe now 4 years, if they come in 2027, for the U.S. government to prepare the people about what is up there. In many ways, this is the key line, folks. Check this out. If you haven't been blown away yet, unbelievable. I think the word got out within the government that they're showing up in 2027 and we'd better be prepared. If not, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do. So I think that dialogue has happened within certain areas inside the government that we need to prepare. That's why in 2017, that set a clock of 10 years. And I guess that's when they said they got this information. It would have been 2007. And why, 2017 to 20, yeah, so they're claiming they got the data in 2017. But this comes out on April 10th. It's only just a few months after I had said the same things that I'm doing these prophetic works. I'd showed lots of examples already in my videos that this is accurate prophecy. And it comes out, just a few months later, they say, oh, no, we were told back in 2017. It's nothing recent. We're way before that David guy. I don't know what he's talking about. No, it's 2027. So this is very, very strange, because the implication is that they want to get ahead of my story. They want to get ahead of Michael's story, and they want to act like it was theirs and they had it first. But then they also have to add in disinformation and push the date ahead by 2 years. So it's not 2025 anymore. Now it's 2027. So Lou Elizondo apparently actually said, just find a hobby for the next 5 years, because it's all going to come out in 5 years. He said that this year, so that was 2027 is the time that they're saying it's going to happen. I've heard 2027 in an official capacity. I can't reveal how. People in the government are aware that something is going to happen. There's limited time. There's only a few more years to prepare the people. This is exactly what I've been saying. So if you just want to be some dork in the comments, I mean, undoubtedly you can probably see them in there right now. They hate me. There's somebody was talking about Q-tards. No. This is true, folks. Like, you can laugh at it, and maybe that's how your mind has to process this information, but it doesn't change the fact that this is really happening. There are people right now getting ready to tell us in an official capacity that they're expecting UFOs to return, mass landings in 2027. How is it that they released this just a few months after I say the same thing from an official ET source, and they only changed the date? That's very, very strange. That's what's wrapping up this acceleration from the previous 7 decades of not even acknowledging it to now acknowledging it at a faster and faster pace. Now, here's another really important thing. Now we're going to go into the Shadow of Ezra channel, which is on the platform known as TG, Telegram. And, you know, it's a strange place to go. There's a lot of weird stuff there that doesn't seem like it's really true. But then you have certain insiders who are able to do secure communications there as well. And this would include Ezra Cohen Watnick, or Ezra Cohen as I've often called him. And so the channel got labeled fake. The Ezra Cohen channel got labeled fake by Telegram, which is really ironic because it's not. And they made another one called Shadow of Ezra, and so that's where I usually am quoting from. I have not seen any other evidence of the posts, as we could call them, continuing in any form except through this and through comms coming from Trump and comms coming from people like Dan Scavino. That's about it. So it's kind of morphed now. You're not going to probably ever see the posts in their original location again, but this is the best thing we've got. And it does frankly frustrate me that more people haven't paid attention to this. So again, if you look back at the main slide here, the military is training underground July 21st of last year, but for what? For what? Well, here it is. Check this out. And that's the wide shot, July 21st. Now I'm going to narrow it a little bit just so we can read it. It says, U.S. military trained underground. What the hell? Military personnel were recently drilled in Exercise Warrior Shield, a subterranean exercise in South Korea designed to teach soldiers how to fight in caves, tunnels, and sewers, and how to breach buildings undetected. Whoa! Undetected. That means a shadow. It's been announced that the training is going on, that there could be a shadow war in which soldiers are actually going into buildings from the basement. Nobody even knows what happens. Evidence is possibly obtained during the night. They're grabbing evidence. They might even be grabbing people. Those people might be getting into a detainment hearing where they get some type of debriefing and then they get released back into the world. But now they have gotten that briefing and they're never going to be the same because now they know that there is some secret orders that have been passed by the last administration that are stopping them from doing what they're doing in very tangible ways. So again, this was a very strong proof of concept that there is subterranean warfare going on, and I'll show you other evidence of how it's being used. It's ongoing, and you're going to find out what's going on in these underground tunnels. It's as bad as you think, believe me. But the next thing we're going to do, this one really freaked me out. I didn't even want to report on this, but here we go. July 22nd, they made another post on EC, or Shadow of Ezra, and I'm going to narrow it once again, and this really kind of freaked me out. A few days ago, Donald Trump was given a Torah crown by the Israel Heritage Foundation. Their mission statement is to await King David's descendant, our Mashiach, which is a word for Messiah, to rule over the land and bring peace to all nations. Trump is in the heart of the enemy. Well, wait a minute. King David's descendant, I mean, the whole point of the Michael prophecies from book 1 onward is that I am the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. You can see it in the astrology, as we talked about last time. You can see it in the facial resemblance. There's plenty of good pictures online. Actually, a lot of them have been removed. I went trying to look for David and Edgar Cayce pictures, and there's a lot fewer of them than there used to be. I got to start updating my website again. My website's been completely scrubbed off of Google, as I've now discovered. Everything on my website is gone, which is really interesting. But anyway, there are still a few David and Edgar comparison shots, and Edgar Cayce was a noteworthy psychic in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s when he really reached his apex. He died in 1945. He did medical readings, 14,000 examples of people having nothing but a time where they're supposed to be at home, and then he goes into a telepathic trance in Virginia or Ohio or Kentucky, wherever he is, and he diagnoses their medical problems with basically 100% accuracy, and he tells them who they were in their past lives. And so there was so much accuracy in the Cayce readings that the past life stuff was probably accurate too. And Cayce himself was told that he had been multiple historical figures, Pythagoras, Lucius of Cyrene, who wrote the book of Luke in the Bible, and the biblical King David, actually, as well as the guy who built the Great Pyramid of Giza, the classic Osiris figure. So, wait a minute. Let's take a look at this again. Await King David's descendant, the Messiah, to rule over our land. Well, that's what my books are talking about, that I'm the descendant of King David. I'm the reincarnation of King David. Now, I'm not comfortable about this. So when this came out, I got really, really freaked out because the books very clearly say, I am not to think about myself as a Messiah. The Messiah is everybody. That the Mashiach is a word that actually means humanity is awakening. There's lots of people doing really important stuff. I'm not a savior figure. Don't pray to me and expect I'm going to come to you and heal you in your dream or something. Focus on the Christ, focus on Jesus, focus on whatever religion works for you, if it's not that. But please don't try to transfer your God attachments onto me. That's not right. And so if somebody does ask me to take on a role like this, I don't really want to. On the other hand, part of what I'm doing here does appear to be political. So the important point is I'm not supposed to think of myself as anything special, and I don't. And this post wasn't exactly framing it as a positive. So I think it's like telling everybody, just don't try to make David into anything funny. Just keep it down. Don't try to call him anything funny. Because again, in the books, Michael says that if I were to start thinking about myself this way, that I would die. I would actually be killed. If I started to think of myself as a savior, I'm only a messenger. That's the whole point. You got to be a messenger. You're not the thing. The real thing is the conscious, intelligent universe. There's a oneness. There's a consciousness here. We're all a part of that identity. I am above no one. I am below no one. So if I do end up working with the next administration, whatever capacity, I don't want to be coming in as seeing as a savior figure, superior, or anything like that. I just want to work with a team. I don't want to be put on a pedestal. So again, this really, really freaked me out because it's like, wait a minute, King David's Descendant is coming out on the sequel to the 17 posts. What the hell is going on here? They're talking about me? I don't know. It's crazy. So that was just another one of these really strange things. Here's another one. Ascension and fighter jet communication. This came out on, what was the date again? Because this one didn't have, August 8th. Okay, so it's August 8th, and then it uses the 8/8, August 8th, and it says Ascension. And it actually shows this F-35, I believe it is. And so this also was it had the Journey song in it. Here we stand, worlds apart, hearts broken in two. So it's like, It's as if the Alliance was communicating to me saying they're sorry that they can't work with me because I've never met anybody in person at all. This has all been telepathic. It's very strange. But again, they said my key word, ascension. That's the David word, right? I'm the guy talking about that. And 8/8, well, 8/8 ties in with my original crop circle synchronicity in 2008, as you can find by going to this link. Yes, my website is still alive, even though Google won't show it to you anymore. It's there. You can go type in divinecosmos.com. Here it is. So let's just read a little bit from this article from 2008. A surprising personal twist. I found myself involved in a prophetic sequence quite directly. It started with an image I edited in Photoshop, published on Richard Hoagland's website Enterprise Mission on August 7th. Richard wrote the article and created a graphic for it that initially looked like this, and it says Von Braun's 50-year-old secret. Now, I don't know about you. I've studied a lot of graphic design. I've been in Hollywood. I've done professional television. There's two types of fonts. There's a serif font and a sans serif font. You are never, ever supposed to use a serif font like Times New Roman or anything that looks like this. What he did here, the text that he used here, you're never supposed to use that stuff in any motion graphics, in any title graphics. The serifs are the little doohickeys on the edge of the letters, okay? Why? Because typically it goes back to old television. Televisions are a little bit blurry. You can't read it very well. And if it's really small, you can't see it very well. So sans serif is a font like Arial, and the one that everybody's now using, which I pioneered in my movie Moment of Truth, is Futura Condensed Medium, FCM. I call it the font because after I came out with that movie, just everybody in both sides of the political arena started using that. So I didn't use the font in this case, but I said, Richard, man, this just sucks. We got to make it better. So this is how I made it better. I actually used two different fonts, and they're both sans serif, so you can see there's no serifs on there. And then the other main thing that I did is I changed the background. I added the little man on the moon. I added a strip of space behind him with a diagonal gradient fade. And then I added this figure 8 between the moon and the earth. So again, this was the original. Not too exciting. He didn't use the dead space behind where it says Von Braun's secret. He didn't create any other eye motion or composition. So then when I did this, I added composition with the figure 8, with the man on the moon and with the star field, and then I improved the fonts. The very next morning, I awoke to see news of a new crop formation in Mill Hill, England. Had everyone very excited. They were calling it the 888 formation in commemoration of that numerically special day. I could hardly believe my eyes when I saw it. Yeah. So if you flip it around sideways, again, this was, remember, the original post was a fighter jet. It's the Journey song, Worlds Apart, and it says Ascension 88. This was a direct callback to the 888 formation that I had gotten. So check this out, right? Here we go. This is what it looks like from the side. This is what I was doing in my graphic. It's the same darn thing, folks. And in that article, I discussed the seizure of a treasure trove of documents in the South Ossetia War in 2008. Nobody ever heard about this because it was classified. I found out about it from an insider source called TBR News, which I'd been studying by this point for many, many years. Okay. Washington, D.C., September 1st, 2008. When the Russians chased the Georgians back into their own country, our government took great fright and ordered all American troops out of the area. Some of these troops took part in the attack on South Ossetia in Washington. They were afraid that Americans and Russians would start shooting at each other. As this could lead to immediate war breaking out between the two countries, this again, you don't want the proxy war to turn into a hot war, right? And as Russia has the ability to nuke us, unlike other small countries, we ran like frightened deer. Whoa. We also, look at this, we also left behind for the Russians all kinds of highly compromising documents, code machines, etc., keeping Russian military intelligence busy for days. There is genuine terror in the halls of the Department of State, the Pentagon, and the White House that terrible things from these documents could emerge. Whoa! This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. They captured documents, and right as they did it, the ETs drew these crop circles, a series of crops. If you go back and read my original article, there was multiple crop formations that gave specific dates that were almost exactly the date that these documents were captured. So the beings want us to see this as very, very important. Okay? So we left behind highly compromising documents that reveal the truth about the deep state, these horrible things they're doing, trafficking, all this other stuff. And there's genuine terror that terrible things could emerge. Guess what, kids? They will. Wow. So this was in 2008, and now it's all coming to a head. Now, how did it come to a head? Well, part of this, I'm going to jump back into our modern timeline of 2023, last year. The day after the Ascension 88 message came out, Mar-a-Lago was raided to look for intel on the old 13848, which is an executive order. We've talked about this before. And this particular individual, I'm trying to remember her name off the top of my head. But anyway, she's come out as an insider. She said some really amazing stuff. And her reveal was Mar-a-Lago was raided because they were trying to obtain the Presidential Emergency Act document. They wanted to find out what the hell is going on. What is the military actually doing? That's what that was all about. T declared 2 national emergencies before leaving office, which B has not reversed. Instead, B has signed on to 3 of T's EOs. Very interesting. So what the heck is this thing? What is this thing? Well, here's the photograph of it from the National Archives, imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in the U.S. You know what? So sanctions means financial penalties. So this is one of the ones that's passed. It's on the books. You can go look it up. And it says that if you're involved in interfering, if you're a foreign or domestic person interfering in one of these cases where we're figuring out who's going to run the country, you're going to have to be subject to these sanctions. And again, it's not like everybody's going to know. They just seize your money. So we've heard from various briefings before that these seized funds may actually be repatriated into the world, that we may actually have a very fascinating jubilee of some kind or some type of debt refinancing for everybody. A lot of these stolen funds are inaccessible. So there's had to be a lot of, racketeering and money laundering going on in order to make up the difference. And we're seeing very large operations for creating money that can then be diverted from where the money is supposed to be going. And if you know what I'm talking about, good. If you don't know, then you got to think about some wars and I'll leave it at that. Okay, so in the last show, I talked about the Roundway Hill crop circle. This was August 23rd. It had, again, the image of the Vegas dice, and it also looks like the sun, as if it's saying, the ETs are saying now to humanity, come on, roll the dice. That's people in the middle there, camping in the middle of this beautiful. How do these things appear in the middle of wheat? It's not any technology we can do. It was also indicated in the Miracle of the Snow image. And it's beautiful. I mean, look at the perfection of the geometry here. And again, the point was roll the dice, take a chance, and the symbol in the middle, once again, is a stylized image of the Wicker Man formation. The Wicker Man formation we talked about in last week's show. I still haven't re-uploaded it. Hopefully I'll get to that early this week. So this is really a two-part show. The Wicker Man, again, is a movie from 1971 where there's a cult on this island, and it's a horror movie because the guy who's going to investigate and arrest them for infanticide ends up getting killed by them, and everybody in the entire island is in on it. They get him into a big parade. They march him into a wooden big man statue. It's like 20 feet tall. They set it on fire, and they burn him alive, and he can't escape, and he dies. So that's like the prototype of this concept of the deep state. That there's a lot more of them than you think, and they're working in collusion a lot more than you think. And again, it's right in our face. We can't get away from it. Then on August 28th, Ezra tells us that 13848 is expiring in, wink, wink, 17 days, right? So here's where he said that. And it says, notice on the continuation of the national emergency with respect to foreign interference in or undermining public confidence in USEs. Okay, so this is also pretty strange because it didn't expire, it got extended. So it appears that the administration is not in control of whether this gets expired or not. They actually renewed it even though it's working against them. So they're not really in control. Now, again, there's a lot of stuff we don't know. But then this was also very, very strange where Jill gets an X in her picture. Now, she's still obviously alive, so this isn't like any type of assassination, but it does appear that this was when she was given some type of briefing, September 4th, thereabouts, told what's really going on, put under some type of surveillance. I mean, this is real. This is serious. You don't have to believe me. I'm just pounding you with information about it, okay? Then on September 7th, they referenced 13848 again and the movie V, the original television movie miniseries. So here's the two posts. V has come to, and then EO 13848 has been extended, blah, blah, blah. National emergency with respect to foreign interference. Well, again, why is V has come to so important? Well, first of all, it's kind of annoying, isn't it? Because you'd want them to say, has come true, but they don't say come true. They said come to. What are you guys doing here? What is this? Well, wait a minute. Okay. Come to where? What's the missing word? Well, the word would be Earth. They've come to the Earth. What is V? V is about reptilians. V is about negative reptilian extraterrestrials coming to Earth and farming us for food and taking our water. And that is, in fact, what actually is going on. So, again, this is all going to be stopped very soon. You're only learning about it right before we can defeat them. So I wouldn't encourage you to be afraid of this because the countermeasures are in place. We're going to be able to win this war. We are winning this war. And again, most of it is a proxy war. You don't see the beings in the background. You only see what's on the surface. But again, this was a very, very direct endorsement of everything that I talk about in the Michael prophecies. Then on September 27th, they said that the riggers are out at Twitter. And it says that T will return and that the riggers are out. So, you know, some people are really afraid of this. Now, all I can say is that if you haven't really studied this type of information I'm sharing with you now about the Alliance, about the posts, there has been such a concerted effort in television, in blogging, in independent videos. They're trying so hard to make you hate this man. And even now, I have a very hard time stepping into this arena because it's just people get so emotionally charged about this. They're so afraid Oh my God, if he gets back in office, it's the worst thing could possibly happen. It's the death of the whole planet. It's Hitler 2.0. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, it's so bad, it's so bad, it's so bad, it's so bad. But we're fine. Oh no, we're like really cool, and that other guy, yeah, just let's get rid of him, but we're really great. You know, well, no, you guys are not really great. There's a lot of really weird, crazy, horrible stuff going on. It's very upsetting, and all they ever do is they concentrate their firepower on this one guy. They say, oh, we got to get you to hate him no matter what. He's so bad. If all you do is believe what's out there and you haven't really studied this, and again, this is like getting a PhD. It's so much complexity. There's so much information to learn. It's beyond a PhD, really, in terms of the learning curve. If you don't have that learning curve, you haven't done this, you could do it. I mean, I'm showing you how. But you have to go through the steps yourself. And then what you'll realize is, oh, T is only a figurehead. I mean, he's very important, but he's only a figurehead of something much larger. And instead of ever talking about the larger thing, they're never going to say, oh, by the way, we hate that executive order. We hate the fact that they blocked our money. We hate the fact that they've trained in underground things and they're coming into our buildings and grabbing stuff behind our backs. God damn it. Why are they trying to bring us down for interference? They're never going to say this. They're never going to tell you what's going on. Neither side is telling you directly. The positive side, the alliance side, is only giving you this information through comms. So check this out. The next one was October 4th, and they're talking about the EMS. And it says there will be a nationwide emergency alert test sent to all TVs, radios, and cell phones at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time. This is October 4th again. Well, so this is pretty strange. They're talking about there's an emergency messaging coming. Well, that's exactly what we've been told to expect. Limited power outages. Probably most people are not going to lose power, at least in America. Internet outage completely, where there's no cell phones, there's no internet access, Wi-Fi doesn't work. You might be able to use a landline telephone. You will be able to use radio, shortwave radio, so you might still want to have one of those if you like hearing things, hearing new information during that time. And I've talked in the past about certain shortwave, but basically, I would just be ready with something to read. You could get Michael Prophecies. Again, we've got that for you. TheDisclosure.com, discount code Jubilation. But this was October 4th. Now, 21 days later, just 3 weeks after the Alliance teases that they're going to use the emergency messaging system, we get Leave the World Behind, which is a counter-programming message. I talked about this the last time. Produced by none other than the Obamas, where the pretty woman, Julia Roberts, becomes the most toxic racist imaginable. And I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, not mangling it. Mahershala Ali is the guy who is then told, never trust white people. So the whole show is about a mass blackout that, you know, there's ships going bad, there's electric cars blocking roads off. It's like the end of the world. There appears to be a nuclear war happening. There appears to be electromagnetic attacks on people. People's teeth are falling out, and Julia Roberts at the end of the show sits down to finally watch the last episode of Friends. It's a very gloomy ending. You get the sense that everybody's about to die, and that it's some type of foreign invasion. They give you lots of clues that there's some type of foreign invasion. So we're going to get back into that. I got a couple quotes from that coming up here. But the main thing is, wait a minute, this was produced by the Obamas, and people who downloaded the original file off of Netflix found that it had 4 audio files in it, 3 of which appear to have low-wave frequencies in them. Now, that's something that's normally associated with mind control, behavioral influencing. So it's like they're trying to make you more scared. Now, my body worker watched this movie, and she had absolutely no idea that this was anything other than a strictly fictional scenario. But again, it's as if they're trying to get ahead of what they think is going to happen. They're trying to get ahead of the blackout, ahead of the internet and the phones going down, and make you really, really scared of it. So here's another reference to my work that EC came out with, this where he talks about the Great War. The Great War has started, a November to remember, October 27th. Well, by this point, I'd already read this to the audience, and they were responding to it. Special particles, the mind will know what this is about. Palestinians, Israel, you should know more about this. Their impeccable track record stands to tarnish yet once more. This is out of the Michael books, book 1. There are some of those things in life no one likes to talk about, but it is a necessity. A little bit of extra sparkle for you there. That's a little Easter egg. Please speak more on the Palestinians, I said. Beloved Israel will soon be falling into discord as has been predicted. This is not as much a matter of concern as one of inevitability. Inevitability? Well, yeah, this was before it ever happened. The war. Many tempers will flare as the Great War approaches. This is exactly what we are seeing now. An escalating war involving Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, and activity in Israel as well. So if you watched my previous show, then you realize that in May, in Italy, the crop circle makers created a formation that told us to look at October 14th solar eclipse. And a week before that is when the Israel-Palestine war started. This absolutely looks like a prophecy that Israel will be falling into discord. They're going to be attacked by the Palestinians, or they're allowed to be attacked. Many tempers will flare as the Great War approaches. Yeah. And what did EC just mention? They mentioned the Great War. So let's just go back to that again. It says the Great War has started. Okay, so boom, there it is. That's exactly what we were just seeing here. And so I'm going to get back to that quote again. You should know more about this. Their impeccable track record stands to tarnish. So this is not really a positive thing, but it is, it's a warning. And then again, we just saw the Great War. Israel will soon be falling into discord, and many tempers will flare as the Great War approaches. So this again was them, the alliance was directly referring to something that I had already said in a previous post in the Michael prophecies. As you are aware, we have deterred this already from some of the prophecies that have been predicted, but alas, nobody's perfect. We are still trying from a promotional standpoint. I hope you get the point. And I said, in other words, you want me to promote these things? And they said, yes, precisely. So the key here, and it was in the Michael prophecies, they predicted the Israel war before it came, months and months before, because that book came out in 2022, December, book 1, and the war didn't start till October 2023. So again, the Ezra Cohen post mentioned the Great War, which is exactly the phrasing that was in this prophetic reading. And the whole point in the Michael prophecies is that by letting you know what's going on, we can stop you from having these things turn into something much worse. So when the Israel thing first started, I got really scared. I didn't know how big it was going to get, but it's maintained a containment where it is not turning into World War III, thank God. And it could have, apparently, according to Michael. So we're very glad that this did not happen. But here they are saying, Great War has started, a November to remember. Now, I already talked about this before, the Hatherton Lane, Hampshire crop circle, July 25th, which had the bat signal in it in a wicker basket formation. So we zoomed in on the middle, and again, these balls are all part of that wicker basket thing, which again ties back to The Wicker Man, 1971, a movie about an entire satanic cult on an island where they're all in on it and they're going to kill anybody that goes against them. That's the deep state. Their island is really perceptual. The island is only a metaphor. They exist on the whole world. Okay, so as I talked about in my last video, please go back and watch it if you didn't, and I'll have the re-upload ready in just a day or two. There is a bat signal in the middle. It looks like the Batman signal based on the sunset angle. And I talked about this because on November 3rd, after I'd publicized this, Dan Scavino published a video of Trump's motorcade, and they were all rolling out in a 1-minute shot, and then here you see at the 4-second mark this image of the bat signal. It is identical. And again, last time I only showed you a few of these. People were like, oh, I don't know if I believe David, but wait a minute. The King David thing, the bat signal, there's so many. And then here was another one that really blew me away. I mean, I really started to have a trippy experience at this point because this is what Dan Scavino posted. And I'll just widen it a little bit so we can see the whole thing. 2021 appliances break within 2 years. 1980 refrigerator, I will outlive you and everyone you love. I am eternal. I am time itself. This is very, very funny, folks, because I've complained about it in my Michael books. I've complained about it in my videos, and I'd already complained about it several times by November 5th, 2023. I have a Sub-Zero refrigerator upstairs. It came with the house. It's got the compressor at the top, and it was built open. So there's no baffling of the sound at all. And so this refrigerator has been driving me out of my mind. I have to try to avoid refrigerator noise in every way that I can because it drives me freaking crazy. I have a sensitivity to high-pitched noise. It goes, oh, it's got this sound. Oh, my God. And I've talked about it extensively. I could not believe it when they're because this was immediately after something that they could see this if they were monitoring my communications. I tried to get the darn refrigerator replaced. I haven't been able to find anybody to do that for me. I don't have the money either, frankly. But then also just trying to find a way to lower the sound, and I wasn't able to do that either. So I was very, very frustrated. I was really upset about the refrigerator, and then they put this out there, like just trying to get me to take it easy and laugh about it. So this was very, very, very peculiar stuff, folks. Next on the list is November 16th, 2023, where they warn us about a coming Black Swan event. Uh-oh. It says bank run, bank layoffs, Black Swan, November 16th. Now, what is this all about? Well, the Black Swan event is something that Catherine Herridge got fired for. And then they wanted to, maintain all of her documents. They wouldn't give her the documents back. She said on network corporate news television that there is a Black Swan event coming. Now, a Black Swan is not usual. Normally, they're white. The black color indicates something very rare, but this term, Black Swan, specifically means unpredictable, catastrophic, large-scale events, usually financial. So some type of financial collapse. It's kind of amazing that there hasn't been more of that already. Bank runs, bank layoffs, Black Swan, okay? But this is, again, telling us expect that you're going to see some really heavy financial stuff before this is over. We already are. So I talked about how the plan started with JFK, the plan meaning this plan in the 1950s, even before JFK, Eisenhower era, to arrest the deep state, to stop, bad things from happening. So they put a Q code in the actual burial site of John F. Kennedy, and they're showing you this in the post from November 22nd. 60 years ago, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. And then what you see is from Google Maps, it says President John F. Kennedy grave site. And so, sure enough, there is a very obvious Q in the layout on the ground. Whoa, ho, ho. Now, what in the world is this? It actually kind of looks like what I got behind my head here, right? Just put one of those in there, boom, we got it. Okay, it's kind of the same thing. So what is this? Well, Q is a letter that represents top secret clearance communications. And so even back then, this plan was in place and they put it into the grave site for a future marker for our time that Kennedy was involved in this. If you liked Kennedy, if you liked John F. Kennedy, well, guess what? This was his dream. He tried to do it with Executive Order 11110. Let's stop them from selling off all the silver and issue silver notes that are not from the Federal Reserve. Well, he got stopped on that. But they knew in the future they were going to succeed, and so that's why they did this. Then, on November 29th, we had Henry Kissinger die, and they showed him with a cross out on his face during the November to Remember. So in some cases, people are still alive. In some cases, they're not. And again, the cross out seems to be that whoever this is has now either been taken out of the game or they've been given the briefings about what the alliance is really doing, and they now know the truth, and they're not going to talk about it because they don't want to, probably for very strong reasons. Then on December 4th, they talk about solar changes in this post here. It's 14 seconds, and it just shows the sun with this very curious kind of boot-shaped image on it. And I thought this was curious because the boot looks like Italy. And, Italy is the hub of a lot of strange stuff, including where the Vatican is and the original spiritual center of the deep state. So it's almost like the sun, because before the sun showed a smiley face. I don't have a slide for that, but there was a very interesting smiling image of the sun that really, to me, was an example of the conscious universe. And then you get this Italian boot. And again, I think what it's showing is that the center of the deep state, having been in Italy, having been in the Vatican, it's all being exposed. The sun is exposing it to you. It's right there. The next one they did was on December 9th, and they warned that there was some big event coming. Somebody said Kissinger's I want to read some of your comments now. People said Kissinger's bottom lip is rocking. Q from Star Trek is not to be trusted. Okay, the Q in Star Trek is very different. The Q briefings are something else. But anyway, somebody said that his lower lip was crazy. His bottom lip is rocking. Diana has a Q at her gravesite as well. He looks like a bachelor who cleaned up, worked hard to do this live for us today, and that's sexy and smart, my friend. I don't know. Some people don't like the way I look. Some people don't like my humor, whatever. That's fine. I think a lot of people have difficulty with this information, especially when I connect so many dots at once. So the next thing I want to talk about is this event that was called Winter. And this really freaked me out because I didn't know but what winter meant. This is when they're actually going to do the arrests, folks. So I was really, really freaked out on December 9th when this came in. It said 12-day, and it didn't say days, it said day. And that also made me wonder. And then till, they missed a letter on that. So you got a missing S and a missing L, LS, SL, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the hell are they trying to tell us here. What is this really saying? But again, they very clearly say winter is coming and no planes. So winter is coming obviously comes from the idea of the storm in Game of Thrones, the HBO television series. At the end of the show is when the winter shows up, and it's this big, big winter, and it causes a lot of damage. So winter is coming is like the storm. The storm is coming. Ah, that's right. The storm is coming. Yeah, that's what I think it's talking about. No planes? What do you mean no planes? Well, I think the idea is that, it's dangerous to fly. You don't want to fly at all. So I have not been on any air flights. I haven't traveled anywhere. I'm very concerned about this prophecy. And again, it says 12-day till winter begins. Well, you add the 12 to December 9th, and that seems to flag that something big is going to be starting on December 21st. And I will talk momentarily about what did and did not happen. But again, how do we know but what winter didn't mean that's when they're going to start arresting people? And I think they faked out the deep state and got them to do some crazy stuff as a result of this. So then the next one that we saw was on December 16th, where Tucker Carlson goes public and says the UFOs have a really dark component, spiritual, that he doesn't fully understand. Well, what is spiritually dark? And we know Tucker's a Christian. That's Satan, the devil, demons, right? Yeah. Once you learn about what the truth is and what's really going on, you're going to find out that angels are real and demons are real, and they've been visiting us the whole time. And a lot of Christians used to think that if they're into this stuff, they think, oh my God, all ETs are evil and bad. No, no, no. The ones in the flying disc, the ones that showed up for the snow circle in the 1400s in that Miracle of the Snow painting, the ones that showed up for Saint Germain, the ones who showed up that Saint Germain drew that image of the UFO they came in the book Micromegos. He commissioned that illustration. This is the flying saucer. This is who they are. They're not evil. Okay, Saint Germain was not evil. This is a very positive initiative that's happening here on Earth. So Tucker is talking about a really dark, evil, spiritual component in the UFO thing, and it became the number 2 top story on Gateway. So there you go. Then on December 31st or somewhere around there is when I found this. They actually posted it earlier, but they mentioned the UAPs again. They showed this map of the reported UFO sightings, and they're almost all in America. So something did happen during Roswell. The Alliance is the part of our government that has that technology. They've reverse engineered it, but then they broke away from the elected governments for the most part. Trump was chosen by the Alliance to run for president. He was not political. They did not want a politician, and they needed somebody who had enough money that he could finance his own campaign. We had extensive briefings that he was dragged in for a 2-week set of meetings. He did not want to do it at first, and they told him, look, this is what's going on. There's this evil happening. Children are being hurt. Do you want to help us? And it took them 2 weeks to convince him, but then he went all in. And I guess this was somewhere in maybe 2015. Up until that point, they were thinking about doing something that was more direct, perhaps more like a coup. I don't really think that's what this is. It's going to be all done legally and ethically. So then I want to show you another comm that came in that I found interesting, where Trump said we're going to have a fantastic year on New Year's Day. And here's the link to that. We're going to have a fantastic year. And then I inserted the note. Doesn't it all sound like a horrible year of waiting for November? Because by then the year's over. Our country has gone to hell, he says, and we are going to turn it around pretty quickly. So this is one of many, many comms. I just wanted to give you a few where they keep saying something's going to happen quickly. It's not going to be November. The year is going to be fantastic. Well, no. If they're trying to destroy everything, if the DS is trying to destroy everything and it takes all year just to get to the election and then 2 more, 3 more months before there's an inauguration, that's not a fantastic year. And what do you mean turn it around quickly? Quickly is not a year. Quickly is fast. So again, it's right there in front of you in the things that he says. He's going to say one thing and then he's going to actually say other things. He's going to say, vote for me in November, da, da, da. Of course he has to say that. But then there's these things in between, the layers of the sandwich. The truth is always sandwiched between 2 lies. That's one of the things that Uncle Jack always used to say. Anyway, now it starts to get stranger because after he says it's all going to happen quickly, there's weird explosions in New York. And this takes place on January the 2nd. Now, what in the world is this? Police initiate emergency response after reports of booms and shakes on Roosevelt Island in New York City. And so here's the links, and then I'm going to read you another one. Just in, Roosevelt Island, Manhattan experiences widespread power outages following a series of explosions from manholes in New York City. And then Daily Mail reports on it, but they only say there's 3 of them. I think there was more than 3 because it said the series. But major emergency response as 3 booms and shakes are felt on New York's Roosevelt Island. Firefighters are urgently trying to find the source as they probe manhole fires. Now, let's see. What were we just talking about before? We were talking about the idea that they are trying to do underground warfare. They were training in South Korea. I read you that slide, right? We saw all that. And they can breach buildings undetected, and they're saving children who are being trafficked. That appears to be what's going on. So this appears to be, again, a major, major center for this stuff that got blown out by, again, the previous quote said, a series of explosions. And there's another example of this that's happened more recently. So this is not just like a one-off thing. This is, again, an example of a covert war, and we're going to find out ever since the inauguration 2020, they've been doing this. They've been breaching various buildings. They've been saving people from secret underground facilities. It's regular military personnel sworn to secrecy. You're never going to hear about this, but that's what's going on. So the headlines on January 6th revealed this underlying story once again. White House wasn't aware for days that Defense Secretary Austin was hospitalized. And then we have Brett Weinstein on there with Tucker discussing the death toll of a global war. Now, what's going on with this Defense Secretary thing? Well, there was another EC post where they showed his picture being crossed out with an X again. Now, he's obviously still alive, but he was disappeared for days at a time. They didn't know where he was. That's because he was getting a briefing. That's because it took them days and days to explain to him what the hell they're doing. And apparently he was planning on doing something really big and really nasty, and they stopped him and they arrested him, and now he's under this sort of pre-trial arrest phase where, he's already been given the briefings, he knows what's going on, and he can't say anything yet until whatever happens in the future. So, by January 7th, 2024, there's this massive nationwide weather disruption going on that they called gobsmackingly bananas. The weather models predict the polar vortex invasion. Sure enough, we got hit by this thing really bad. The whole entire country was thrown into a deep, deep freeze everywhere. There was no way that anybody could be arrested. And I think, again, that the 21 days until winter begins, or 17 days till winter begins, it started on December 21st. No time was given, but I think the DS was so worried about a pending arrest that they actually did create this massive weather disaster. And again, creating a big weather disaster can be done. In our new movie Levitation coming out, we got Michael Herrera, who testified on these Antarctic weather modification technology. We have his whole testimony in the new movie on that. And this is what apparently happened with Maui. These green lasers that they talk about, some of them are coming from Antarctica. So sure enough, it ended up wiping us out for like a whole week. Everybody in America couldn't do anything. And then on January 7th, as I said, let's go back to the slide now. The Secretary of Defense showed up with a cross out. So that's, again, no, he's still alive, but they gave him some information just like before we saw with Jill. Then on January 8th, they mentioned this life insurance thing again. That's supposedly a file that was on a laptop, one of the seized laptops, that has very nasty stuff in it, similar to what they seized in the South Ossetia War in 2008. Same kind of thing. Then they showed us this. January 13th, it was a posting saying that Disease X is nothing new. Because, oh my God, wait a minute. Disease X Act of 2023 in the 118th Congress of 2023-24, and they said everything was planned in advance. Now, do I believe there's going to be something like this? No. They've said that the labs that they could have done this with have been shut down. They don't have enough material to make this work. I've got a moth flying in front of my camera. We don't want moths in the shot. So I have to kind of navigate around his motions. Sure enough, by January 14th, this massive cold snap is going across America. It's catastrophic. Below zero temperatures, blasts of Arctic snow, air, and ice. So this, again, could have been where the DS is trying to use weather control to make it impossible for the winter operation, if they thought that it meant arrests, from actually happening. And I did too, frankly. I was all freaked out. I wasn't ready to go public at this point. I'm watching all these things going, wow, where is this going? Then on January 15th, Tucker comes out and talks about another thing that I'd mentioned in the Michael prophecies. Solar activity can kill our electronics. If there was a big solar burp or solar flash, it could kill 90% of the population within a year. This again ties into the Chinese weather balloon thing. It ties into electromagnetic pulse attacks that could be done just from a nuclear bomb being exploded up in the high altitudes. And the shock wave that it causes actually causes electronics to melt down. They mentioned the Carrington event, which I think was 1836, where all the telegraph wires melted from a massive solar flare. And Dennis Quaid, of course, also starred in The Day After Tomorrow, which was a movie about this very type of catastrophe. It would make sense after he starred in this movie that he'd want to warn everybody about it, and now he is. So then we get this weird comm. It's going to happen soon. This comes from Trump on January 16th. So let me read you that. He says, I really think this is the time now for our country to come together. Whether it's Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world, straighten out the problems, and straighten out all the death and destruction that we are witnessing. Well, yeah, that's the plan. That's what the plan is. We're going to straighten everything out. We're going to come together. And again, the best resource the DS has is to try to make you absolutely pathologically hate this man, that you think that if anything happens involving him, it's like the worst thing. Oh my God, we're all going to die. What if it's exactly the opposite? What if a lot of the stuff that they've said about him isn't even true? They're making all these stories up. They're making up the accusations, and it's not even true. Let's read more of this quote, though, because it's fascinating. We want to come together, straighten out the world, right? It's never been like this. It's so important. I want to make that a very big part of our message. We are going to come together, and it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. Soon is not a year. Soon is not November election. Please, please, please stop saying November election. I want to put all this data together at once so we can stop jerking around here and acting like it's going to be a year from now, because it's not. It's right around the corner. It's going to happen soon. Soon is not 10 months. Okay? Let's just be very clear. He is going to say that sometimes, but he has to, because you can't just openly talk about this all the time. Okay? Now, this was another one that was really, really fascinating. It seemed to be a direct communication to me, where they posted an F-22 jet in flight, and it was 39 seconds long. Check this out. This Dan Scavino reposted this. I didn't get his original post. But again, it's 39 seconds long. Now, why is that important? That is important because, if I have it here, do I have it here? Okay, hold on. Let me go grab it. This is our SM-39, folks. And, you know, maybe people don't like the fact that I've got a high-technology military company. Okay. But, yeah, this is our SM-39. We've already designed it. The engineering is already finished. This is going to be the best, fastest jet ever made. We actually have a partner right now who wants to help us develop this, and we're going to make sure the U.S. has it first. There are These bulkheads are actually very important in achieving a higher speed. If you have all the shock hitting the front of the jet, then you have a lot of stress and wear and tear. So this absorbs the shock. These are very important. And also we have these engines that run the entire expanse from the top to the bottom. The exhaust outlets are back here. But this is the SM-39. So 39 is the key number for this plane. I printed this on my own 3D printer here at the house. This is our Mach 4, fastest, most badass. It's like the Bat plane, right? It looks like something Batman would be flying in. This is the SM-39. So 39 seconds. And then they show us, let's see if I can get back to that slide. Yeah, 39 seconds. It's the same model number, and they're showing us the F-22. So once again, it's like, wow, is the Alliance speaking to me? And I think they are. Now, this next one was very, very odd. They flagged a photograph of Trump with a man in the shadows. And then they say, wait until you find out who the man in the shadow is. I really don't have any idea what this is supposed to mean, but I like to speculate. What if it's a human extraterrestrial? What if they're still in contact with human ETs, and this one just happens to be bald and tall? He seems to have a really strong, really well built out jaw. So he's probably a bodybuilder type. But again, wait until you find out who the man in the shadow. I mean, you could speculate on this any way you want. But in my movies and in my books, I've talked about the idea that we could be going through, that there's human ETs that are already here now, that are already giving briefings, the positive angelic ones, already giving briefings to members of our government. That might be what we're actually seeing. And again, I'm going to zoom in even closer, just so you can get a sense of like, okay, man, what in the world is going on? I mean, that's one of the most interesting ones because we just have no idea. Another sign that there's some big plan going on is January 19th. We're hearing that China's economy is hitting rock bottom. They've even suspended short selling after losing $6.3 trillion on the market. I mean, this is clearly in free fall. Something big is getting ready to happen. They're very concerned. And then on January 22nd, again, we got this image born in desperation from Soros, where it's a bullet hole and it's 47. And if he got reelected, he'd be the 47th president of the United States. So it's very obvious who they're threatening here. And again, $17 is face up. And then we know what the number 17 is. The next one that was really interesting came out on February 3rd, where Luis Elizondo fed into the whole narrative I've been talking about, where he says we are not at the top of the food chain. So in this little video clip, again, Vicky Verma, he's posting every day. Imagine everything you've told about what we are is not entirely accurate. NASA astronaut Al Worden said humans are ancient extraterrestrial aliens who came here from elsewhere. So we were not born on Earth. The human body was brought here. And again, in this video, he very clearly, Luis Elizondo very clearly states, we are not at the top of the food chain. So it once again sets up the whole Michael Prophecies narrative, negative extraterrestrials, very scary, dangerous stuff. The next slide is where they say 9 months is a long time. Trump said this. So again, it's like, well, our country's a mess. Our borders are open and insecure. 9 months is a long time. There's a very good chance in that period of time of having World War III because we have somebody who is not respected. He's being laughed at and he's not doing a good job. So, wow. Okay. It's going to happen soon. 9 months is a long time. He's been saying all these things. You could have World War III during that time. So the whole idea is we don't want it to last 9 months. We want it to happen faster than that. It's going to happen soon. Changes are going to come quickly. We're going to turn this around. Now, this was another really crazy one about King Charles, February 5th. Once again, he's got the cross out, but he appears to still be alive. Nobody's really seen him very much. So that means he's gotten a briefing, but nobody's, heard him, but I mean, he's definitely gotten the briefing. And then it says proof of removement, click here. So let's click on that. And this is what it goes to. It says it will be a very short reign on May 6th, 2023. Like as soon as he showed up. That's what they were out there saying. So this is very curious. This is very curious. So at this point, I'm getting ready to go back on camera. My weather was still pretty bad, but I'm like trying to, get all these things sorted out. And I started to use a lot less medication. I've basically been not entirely off of it, but way, way, way down, tapering way down. So I start remembering a lot more dreams when I do. And I wouldn't use medication at all, except that it's brutal up here. The survival conditions I live in are incredible. You have wind that sounds like car crashes hitting the house constantly. That can go on for 3 or 4 days at a time. Your feet are always cold. You're always tired. You're always hungry. You always need to go outside and shovel, because if you don't shovel, you have ice. It's been really rough. But I finally, started to clean up, and I start having these amazing dreams. So that's what this is where they started talking to me, folks. And you can think I'm crazy, but when you start looking at the evidence, it's like, dang, all right. So the first one was February 9th, 2024. I had a dream about the Black Panther, which is symbolic. So in the first part of the dream, I had an in-person meeting with Trump, which has never happened. I've never met him in person at all or talked to him in any way. Not at all. I mean, only through communications like this, but never in any direct at all. So he told me that my work was truly extraordinary in this dream. So I'm going to read you. I actually, all I did is copy this now directly out of the transcript from my original dream notation. This was something that I just had written down, and I copied it and just put it into the slides. So that's all I'm doing. It seemed to be happening at Mar-a-Lago. It was just him and me sitting in a lovely room talking to each other. We were getting along very well, like we were family, and we were having a very deep conversation. Of course, if the things that I'm telling you are true, and this is real, then it would make sense that there would be fascinating conversations in the future, because I've seen all this. I've listened to their communication, and I'm reporting on it. So that's valuable. I honestly did not feel as if he was putting himself behind any walls. Our conversation was extremely open, honest, friendly, and inspiring. Unlike everyone else, he understood why I did all of this and what I'm going through. There was no sense of discomfort. It was like talking to a very good friend. He was emotionally supportive in a way that few others in my life have ever been. I hope that turns out to be true. I think it will be. It seemed that my actions had far greater positive consequences than I had ever imagined. We did talk about the Prime Minister of India, Modi, and the idea that I would go over there to see the floral displays of his new Rama temple. This is another thing where the Michael prophecies also say that the historic Hindu gods and goddesses are going to return, that they are real. And then after that, India made this temple, which was in honor of their gods. And it actually was, it looks like to me, Khajuraho, which I'd used in many slides in the past. Like they imitated the very same temple that I've often talked about. So that may be some type of welcome mat for Archangel Michael and his people, because again, they've told us they're coming in 2025. And the CIA is trying to get ahead of the story and say, oh, well, it's 2027, and we've known about it since 2017. So I don't know who this David guy is. Ugh. Well, no, Michael was talking about it in 1997, okay, 98, 99. So somebody wants to get ahead of this story, but again, it looks like India is all excited about it. And I do remember him telling me that the work I had done was truly extraordinary. Now, again, I would have never normally said this, except that they began communicating with me in their Ezra Cohen posts, the Alliance, and I want you to see this, and I want to try to get it in within 2 hours. I'm not going to quite make it, but we'll keep it to 2.5 hours. I was very surprised at how well our personalities integrated. It was Mega Anon, the insider, who used to hang out with him in person, and said that we had the very same sarcastic humor and personality. It was obvious we could harmonize very well because we're very similar in many ways. And apart from that, there are vast parts of the conversation I cannot remember, which was really annoying. And the second part of the dream is where it totally changes, and now there's this literal 9-foot cat that I had to stand up to. It was incredibly scary. At some point, the scene morphed, and I was now by myself. I had a place that was like an apartment, and it was also like box seats in a baseball stadium. There were children out there having a baseball game, which I could see through my big picture window. Everything was framed for me to look out at the baseball diamond at the best point. Now, obviously, this is emblematic of box seats, of having money, of having your own private little air-conditioned space at the baseball stadium. So, in the future, I probably will have more money. Right now, for the last 2.5 years, I've been so bankrupt for so long. The idea of ever having any money again is like something I can't even imagine right now. To be honest with you, all I do is I spend the money as soon as I get it. I've got terrifying debts coming at me from every side. Got a meeting with the IRS coming up. They're dragging me into a hearing. I've got an attorney for that. We need a deal to happen really soon for our company. It looks like it will, but again, until it does, my life is just freaking raunchy, hardcore suffering with absolutely no money. I mean, I didn't even buy a bed for myself until just recently for my birthday. That was my birthday present, is to buy a mattress that I can sleep on without crippling myself, because I've had the same one since about 2007 when I got it in Los Angeles, and it has expired. So here comes the next part. I'm in these box seats. I'm looking out the baseball, and baseball again is another symbol of, you know, the fourth density ascension. There's first base, second base, third base, first, second, third dimension. But when you go and hit a home run, you go to the fourth base. You go to the home plate. And so that is a dream metaphor of ascension that they've used many times. So this is actually, the baseball metaphor is talking about ascension and how we get to the fourth plate, how we get to fourth density, how we evolve, and how we can all then enjoy this and be in safe box seats where we're not being hurt by anybody. Well, but there's this panther that's blocking me from getting out of the room. Check this out. I had no idea why I had an apartment there, why I was watching this. It all just seemed normal. There was a door like a white screen door that went out to a balcony. And the balcony had an open-ended stairwell that led right to where the families were that were watching the game for the little kids playing Little League. I had no idea why I had an apartment there, why I was, oh, sorry, that's a repeat. It happens. I walked out there and a massive black panther was hanging out on my porch. Uh-oh. He was equal in size to the 9-foot mountain lion that I had under the porch in Boulder. When I worked for Gaia TV, I had it was a streaming video network that I worked on from 2013 to 2018. And for the first like 3 or 4 years, I lived at the boss's house in Boulder. And because nobody was usually there was a 9-foot mountain lion that lived right underneath the house. So a lot of the time, I was like 3 feet away from this huge cat. And then when I was home, my dog is like a wolf hybrid dog, basically like a wolf. So I had these, you know, apex predator animal energies around me everywhere I went, which is very interesting. But in this case, this panther is not going to let me leave. I was completely shocked. He's 9 feet long. He's hanging out on the table. His entire body was jet black. His eyes had this penetrating lime green color. Somebody, King of Cups, just sent me $20. Thank you, King of Cups. I don't usually celebrate that, but somebody sent me $25. Somebody sent me $20. So thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. The cat was perched on a table, sitting there, and he was staring right at me. And when I typed in ring, that's just because sometimes I have these little typos with my fingers where they type the wrong thing, and then it turns out to be a word I'm supposed to hear. So I just put it in parentheses if that happens. There's been a lot of weird subconscious stuff I've gotten that way, actually. It's very curious. So here's this massive cat, and he's staring right at me with these green eyes. He's all black. It was really terrifying. He was guarding the exit. He had no intention to let me leave. So this is symbolic of humanity, and the Black Panther is symbolic of the deep state. And there are certain aspects of the DS that worked with this terror group in the 1960s and 70s. Okay, so that's another layer of it, is that it actually referred to a very hostile organization in the past. It had no intention of letting me leave. I locked eyes with the fearsome beast. I felt a huge shock ripple through my body. Bang! Drusilla Morcello, $9.99. Thank you, we love you. Thank you, Drusilla. I want to honor that if somebody gives me a super chat donation, so thank you very much. I'm not always going to see him, but if I do, what the heck, I'll say something. So, I locked eyes with him. I immediately turned around, went back inside. I was scared to death. I almost crapped myself. I stopped for a second and then said, F this, I am not going to be intimidated. This is really true. In the dream, I would never do this in real life. I suddenly turned around, took a few fast steps back outside, and I shoved this 9-foot panther right off of the table. Surprisingly, he acquiesced and moved away. He turned his back on me, walked over to the stairwell, turned around, sat down, and now he was just looking at me. I had hoped the panther would leave after that. So this is really prophetic of the idea, that we can, in fact, be able to push back and that our path to home plate, to fourth density, the fourth base in the baseball game, the analogy of the dream, fourth base, fourth home plate will be achieved. We will get to ascension. This evil force is not going to be able to stop us. We can push back on it. Okay? Very interesting. Not little extra lights there. I stopped for a second. Let me go ahead. Whoops. I don't want to take you through those slides. It's one extra slide. So I shoved him right off the table. Here we go. All right. Trying to make it clean. Once I got my mind together about how crazy this was, that I just shoved this panther, I immediately turned around, went back into the house through the flimsy screen door. I was going to hide out from the panther, and I guess I'd done away enough by shoving him to make him go away, or it was a she, in this case. Then I said, wait a minute. If I don't really solve the problem, this panther is going to get mad. She is going to blow right through the screen door, and she's going to attack me in person. So I can't just leave this alone. This could happen at any moment. I have no protection. I have to act right now. If I don't stage the conflict, the panther can give me a surprise attack whenever it wants. I can't leave this dangerous animal hanging out on the porch. Shoving it is not enough. This is ridiculous. I need to scare the panther completely off of the porch right now. Given that the panther responded to my threats already, I should be able to handle this. I just need to get out there, haze the panther, and scare it off the porch. I took a sharp inhale, and again, I'm stupid enough to open up the door and boldly go out there. Now I saw what looked like the panther at first, as well as two other dogs, and one of the dogs was an exact replica of large poodles who always attacked me on the corner as I waited for the school bus as a kid. I had a really hard time with this. There was these two poodles that were bigger than me. They had an invisible boundary where they wouldn't run over the edge of the yard, but they would bark and act like they were going to rip me apart. And this is literally where I had to stand to wait for the bus. I got so sick of it that by like third grade, I started walking to school, which made me more athletic, and it ultimately was a good thing. But this was the home economics teacher. She happened to have a house on the corner of my street, and her dogs were just horrible. So again, this is talking about the part of the, oh wow, I'm getting all these donations over here. Let's see, what have I got? I got, let's see, Peace Able has donated $10. Honest AF has donated $20. Look at this. Barbara Vadas has donated $20. Skywalker DFS donated $50. Mr. Skylight $49.99. Boris V $49.99. Thank you guys. That's, oh wow. Tyrone 1221 500 czars. I don't know how many czars that is. There's so many of them. Colt Browning $20. Wow. Thank you guys. La Vida Dita. Did I get that right? Yeah. Drusilla Morcello, and then we also had, let's see, who Morello, Mark Evans, Leo C, Michelle, Joseph Frank Skillen, Janet Levitt. Thank you for keeping us informed. Kaylin Robinson, Linda Smith. Okay. Wow. Thank you guys all so much for that. It is nice to get some money. I really do need it. The best thing you can do is go to thedisclosure.com and order my product. It brings it down to $250. It was originally $333. With the discount, you get 83 off. But that, again, is all these videos. It's the 7 books. It's all there for you to read. You can access it. You can, we're about to get EPUBs up there, too. I've got a couple of them coming that are going to be ready pretty soon. So thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it, everybody. I don't want to just eat the whole time up on that because other people will get mad, but thank you very much. So let's go back to the slide now. The dogs never bit me, but they always threatened me and they got off on it. This was one of my main incentives to no longer ride the bus to school. The other dog seemed to be a blonde, white, golden lab. Despite the fact the animals could have ganged up on me as a pack, I still went out there to scare them all off, now for my 3rd time. Strangely, once I actually confronted them, the panther transformed into a harmless dog. It had a domestic look, it was all black, and it was not dangerous. Now all I had to do is say in my classic Southern way, "Get out of here!" I love that. I love yelling that out. "Get out of here!" They responded very well to the fear, and we were all terrified and broke into a run. They ran down a stairwell that was just open air to my porch with no gate or door. So yeah, this was really intense. I scared off the dogs. That's a prophecy of us scaring off the deep state. That's the same thing. And again, I realized I needed to have better boundaries and have the right doors put in place. Now, I walked down the stairs. The dogs were normal. They were hanging out with the families and kids now. This, again, shows many people in the deep state will be able to reform and be fine once they're free and they're not imprisoned anymore by this. As I saw the dogs descending the stairs, other dogs in the area were also loose and smaller, and they did not attack each other. They were all integrated. This is talking about us getting along. And then right after I faced off against the Black Panther and shoved him, I see Trump facing off against a boxer. And the first story I read about was Karine Jean-Pierre mangling the English language. So, I got to fix that. That's an extra duplicate slide. So here's the thing where, again, we've got the, sorry about this. I'm trying to keep it all organized for you, as I said. Free speech proponent UFC 297 star Sean Strickland duked it out with President Donald Trump in Las Vegas. So again, here's this video image of the two of them facing off against each other, and I see this immediately after I have a dream where I faced off against a Black Panther. It's really strange. Really strange. And then this was the Karine Jean-Pierre thing. Mind you, these pulled quotes of lingual barbarism are from a single hour-long press conference. Thank you so much. I've got King Salmonfish donating. Got a lot of people donating here. So again, thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it. Keep them coming. I'd like to have some extra food money this month. Okay. Each and every such spectacle is another exercise in the holy war against English, America's mother tongue. If I might be so bold, a beautiful one when used artfully. King Salmonfish, Nalian Head just sent me $20. Thank you. Anne-Marie Cook, 1999. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. You're doing so well for me. I can't appreciate it enough. Of course, I'm not the most eloquent public speaker. Look at all these super chats, folks. It's just like the whole thing. You see that? They're all coming in. Thank you. We got Anne-Marie Cook, Oregon is Beautiful, Julie, Wanda, Jarima. So you got your name in the show. Sorry if I don't do that for everybody, but I do it for some. Then again, my job isn't spreading government lies at the highest level with the spoken word. Very snarky, funny comment. And then there was this also came out the same day. Tucker Carlson's interview with Putin hits 110 million views. So, is this the same thing? Oh, sorry about that. Let's get through that. Oh, and then this came out shortly thereafter, still around the same time as the Black Panther dream. The Rockefellers pressured Biden to pause new approvals of exporting gas out of the U.S., which is essentially trying to bankrupt our own gas companies. Oh, the Rockefellers. Isn't that like, didn't they talk about for so many years the Rockefeller faction, the Rothschild faction? Yes. I've been getting those briefings. I've talked about this many times. And so here we are. You know, remember, Standard Oil became a monopoly. It actually had to be broken up by the United States. And now we can still see I got super chats coming in like crazy. Lieslot, Lund, Ruddick, Slim, Futt, Sheila K., Charity Daniels, Christina Williamson. Thank you. People are so jealous of me now. Oh my God, David is making money. I just can't stand it. I can't stand him. And why are you watching? You know, just go away. Like, if this bothers you, you don't have to be here. Anyway, back to the slide once again. On February 10th, I had another dream where Trump appeared again in even more depth, and he's telling me I have all the evidence I need. Look at the speed of all this stuff coming in, all these super chats. I mean, it's crazy. Thank you, guys. I'm very honored. I want to get through the show. So the main overall theme here was you have all the evidence you need, and Trump was one of the people who was telling me this, among others. It had to do with my own recovery, because again, I told you I'm getting off of medication, as well as standing up to the deep state. And, you know, actually, I haven't had anything today. I don't want any anxiety, so, and I feel great. You know what? It's like when the weather stops, it'll be easy for me to be completely off of it. But when you're having to shovel and you have frostbite in your feet, yeah, it helps. So anyway, part of what this dream was about was getting clean, telling me, yeah, you have all the evidence you need. You don't want to do this anymore. He said, you're learning not to make bad choices all across the board. I'm very proud of you, David. You have all the evidence you need. Check them out. They're still coming in. They're coming in really fast, and we have some real winners on there as well. Some of our trolls are active. There are people, you're going to find out about them pretty soon, who have been actively trying to tear me apart for, like, that's all they do. So they are going to be exposed. I'm not doing it, but my former co-star Corey Good is going to be doing a new show about our trolls, and they will all get the infamy they deserve. Because whether you like Corey or not, what we went through is biblical. People making hate videos on a daily basis, people trying to get our lives taken away, our children taken away, our money taken away, get us audited by the IRS. They hate us so much. It's like, I'm sorry that you're a psychopath. I'm sorry that you grew up this way. I'm sorry your brain doesn't work right. Please don't take it out on me. All right? Like, I'm just here doing my show, and I don't need to be harassed. But anyway, I'm not being harassed because we got all these super chats coming in. Jennifer Stubblefield, $10. Thank you again so much. Look, this is very popular, okay? What I do is very popular. Few people don't like it. They think everybody hates me. It's not true. They're the only ones. And they only have like 30 friends. Okay, you guys, whatever. So, all the evidence you need. We also talked extensively about the evidence I put together in the Michael books. The super chats are rolling in fast and furious here, as you can see. They're still coming in. You have all the evidence you need, included going around looking at symbols of many different pieces of data I'd put in the books. The 2012 solar flash, the 2020 prophecy, political stuff, many mentions of Trump, crop circles, Earth's axis shifting in 2001 and 2013, and then not having a pole shift that was visible to us. Saint Germain saying he would return in the 1950s to Voltaire, and then doing so. We had the image of his saucer there. Fatima prophecies, and so much more. So, Anna Berry says, I love hearing everything you tell me. Take care, from Butler, Tennessee. Baron Trump might be the son of Princess Diana. I don't think that's true. Come on, people. Donate all you can. We need more people like David. Well, yeah, please, again, the best thing you can do is buy the product. TheDisclosure.com. Oi, Colin, sometimes you got to have a little smoky smoke. Thank you, brother. Somebody wants to hear from Colin. Well, mate, Colin's going to have a smoky smoke right now. Thank you. Colin knows how to organize a piss-up in a brewery, and if you Americans don't know what that means, here in Australia we call beer the piss. It has a different name for you people, but a piss-up means that everybody's getting together and they're drinking beer. Now, our saying is that you can't organize a piss-up in a brewery. It means you're not even smart enough to be able to get a bunch of people drinking beer inside a brewery, mate. It's an inside thing in Queensland, Australia. Anyway, there you go. There's some Colin McGeezer for you. Thank you, guys. We got super chats coming in. Cats Meow, $50. Wow. Mermalizing Mentoring. We got Veronique Muermont, $11.99 in euros. Thank you. I'm still here. Demi, Arapov, Johnson, all these people. So thank you guys so much. This is so incredible. I really appreciate your help. So the next thing I had, this is where it really starts to get wild, was this dream, 7-hour-long dream on demonic incursions, where there was a large gong that was creating these manifestations. Now, this dream came in on the same day as the Super Bowl, February 11th, where there was all this weirdness. Just so you can see this, it's still rolling in. There's super chats. Tammy Lott, Richard Lohaus, Carol Laurie. Thank you guys all so much. Super Bowl weirdness, where Ice Spice had some very strange hand gestures. I really don't even want to make fun of this. Even this is evil, right? But I'll just use fists. She was doing this thing and she's kind of waving them around, but it was like the satanic hand symbol, and like she's got some kind of thing that she's doing while you got Taylor Swift and her friend who are pounding hard alcohol at the same time. So the actual show itself, the show was not surprisingly that evil looking, but then they had this thing cut to the side. So the same morning, I had this dream about the demonic, and they wanted me to explain this. We are now seeing the situation where the negative spiritual forces can influence us much more than before because people are more aware of it. And then that same day, we see this thing at the Super Bowl, all the stuff they're doing to advertise. So what that means for you is, I want you to be more diligent about being loving, being peaceful, being kind, because if not, then these negative entities are influencing you. Most of the time, the entities get the best results through people who have psychopathy. And a psychopath typically will never know that they are. You could call it narcissistic personality disorder, call it a sociopath, whatever the term is. There are a series of significant brain abnormalities. We talk about this in Michael Prophecy. 17 areas of the brain that are affected, most of which are shut down. Only 2 or 3 of them are actually amped up, like the striatum. But you have the whole frontal lobes, all these parts of the brain that are shut down. So in the dream, I saw this gong. And the gong had manifested into our reality. Let's check on our... I'll check on the super chats again. They're still coming in. May Yi. U-Trips for free. Here's some coffee money. Thank you guys. I really appreciate this. The demonic gong was intended to show, the whole dream was talking about that now that this is widely known, you have to take better precautions. So what will usually happen as you're getting this negative greeting, it can happen in your own mind, thoughts of self-doubt, thoughts of low self-esteem, addictive behavior, whether you're smoking, whether you're drinking, whether you're doing drugs, codependency, dysfunctional relationships, allowing people in your life who are going to hurt you, who are not being nice to you. We'll just let it run in the background here for a second because it's so amazing. Everybody's donating. Thank you guys. I really feel very blessed by this. Let's cut to the next dream. So I had this international alliance that showed up in my next dream that was very, very profound. This was really something, so I wrote the whole thing out. In this case, I started seeing the world in a projection of those who are awakening. The first stage of awakening, based on what this dream is saying, is to see that everything is some kind of sick funhouse mirror horror show. And, that really does fit with a lot of what's going on right now. There were no mirrors in this dream, but we ended up in a building that was incredibly surrealistic with horror elements actually hanging on the wall. There was something going on outside. It was very creepy. It involved people wearing white robe costumes similar to the Ku Klux Klan but without the hoods. Of course, this is, again, symbolic of the DS and how they're trying to stoke up racism. The closest thing I could compare the outside scenery to was the Wicker Man movie from 1972. Imagine that. Symbol of the cabal and their corruption. We already explained. Everybody on the island is in on it. It's all part of this one big story. Bonnie Brown, thank you very much. And this is, again, also Michael's main repeating crop circle symbol for the defeat of the deep state, including that Vegas dice formation, where the Wicker Man symbol's in the middle, including the bat signal formation. So this shows up in the dream. Really amazing. James O'Keefe was there at one point, exposing things going on within the facility itself in his own inimitable way. We love James O'Keefe. So, in fact, I believe he had a video production area within this weird satanic nightmare building we were all stuck in. All he had to do was walk around and film, and he could get all sorts of really, really horrifying things. I felt truly trapped in this madhouse for far too long. I kept being dragged out of sleep by being cold in my ankles, and I'd immediately fall in again. Even though I was aware it was a dream and I kept on waking up, I never became lucid. I would sink back into sleep and go back into the dream each time. It happened like 27 times. As soon as the dream picked back up, I forgot I was in a dream and I was trapped in it. This was one of the ways that Archangel Michael greatly enhanced my perception of being in hell. It was really, really rough, folks. Wow, now they're all coming in. W.C. Klein, Pi Nielsen, and Mick, thank you, thank you, thank you, you guys. However, while I was in the dream, I had a very peaceful and relaxed attitude. I was aware of all the craziness, but I had a very confident feeling that nothing would hurt me and I was fine. For me, I was just going around analyzing all the bizarre aspects of what was going on around me. The strangest thing was how everybody just went along with it by using drugs and alcohol. So this is, again, kind of a recovery message, surprise, surprise. Their intoxication made them not realize what they were living in or how disgusting and horrific everything around them really was. At the end, there was a very profound shift. I had to sort of piece together what was going on as I had no real information. I just started seeing mobilization of military tanks as an international coalition. Yeah, this is really, really wild. And I got Bonnie Demlong, Golden Threads. Thank you guys. Thanks, everybody. Someone else was watching this with me. We were both commenting on it. And, what's going on with this current NATO exercise with 90,000 soldiers taking place in Europe? Is there something else that's going to happen? I don't know. From what I could piece together, the control system that was running the facility, which was evil, was located on the top floor of the building. Remember, the whole building is filled with all this crazy, scary, horrifying, demonic, oh my God, it was just, I'm not really giving it justice. And this is apparently what the soldiers are seeing when they go into these underground tunnels. It's all decked out. It's all satanic decor. It's very, very disturbing to look at. So the dream is talking about this. Okay, so there were these extremely flimsy-looking ramps that led up to their central control facility. They had darkness and space around them, just showing you it's still coming in. Kaylin Robinson, Wyan Fang, thank you guys so much. Huge darkness and space around them. The ramps were very thin. It all looked like a scene out of Lord of the Rings, like right you're heading into the dragon's lair. How appropriate. The sheer size of the room was incredible. The surrounding scenery absolutely looked like hell. The walls were dark brownish black, all made out of chipped rock. The size of the open cavity of rock was vast compared to the ramps. It was just a big underground room. And the ramps were dwarfed by the awesomeness of the size of the room. The ramps were just thin enough to exist. They were barely even a foot thick. Somehow, the tanks were rolling on these, but it made them look like ants because the size of the cavern was so massive. People had no idea what was going on, but a massive military invasion was heading towards the control system at the top of the building. Whoa! I knew it involved many different countries and their tanks. No one really understood anything. The country I got the most clarity about in this case was Norway. Someone was standing there and had been watching the invasion, and he told me, you see those tanks right there? Those are from Norway. Well, the king of Norway died very soon after this. Now, I didn't have anything to do with it, but maybe the alliance did. Who knows? They might have actually taken him out. I mean, anything is possible at this point, but this was before, the dream happened before that was announced. Okay, so this is really, really weird. The tanks were going in single file with about 25 feet between them in a seemingly endless procession forwards and backwards, and there were orbs of white light around them suggesting supernatural elements of protection and guidance. And I really think this was Archangel Michael letting the Alliance know the orbs represent ETs, positive angelic ETs. Whatever it is they need to do, they will be protected. The Alliance will be protected. As they storm into Sauron's lair, as they go through hell itself on these very thin bridges that shouldn't even work, this massive invasion going in there. And again, I think the tanks actually represent the tractors because there's all these farmer protests going on in Europe. It may not actually ever be a military thing. It could just represent the farmers. But this is really, really interesting. Again, we're being told that the positive ETs will protect the Alliance as they go through with this. The implication was that many other tanks and troops had already gone by in some sort of international coalition. It was not NATO or the UN, it was something else. It was evidently clear that a massive, full-scale international military invasion was being waged against the brain of this entire facility and operation. This is very heavy. Very, very heavy and very exciting. And I guess wow, somebody just sent me $100. Charlie Dallimore, thank you, David. Sabrina Robadou, 1999, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. So, I remember thinking, my God, the world will never be the same again. This is the craziest thing we've seen since at least World War II, if not ever. We're talking about a full-scale international operation that is now using force to bring this to an end. Other people were standing and watching it. Perhaps 60% of them were still distracted by everything demonic in the facility. They weren't even paying attention. And again, this refers to average people. This refers to what's really going on and how most people are not aware. 60% are still distracted, and I'm trying to educate you. This is coming in. It is not a joke. This is not a drill. We are very close to something happening. We are not waiting until November. Please don't get sucked in by that. No matter what you hear, don't get sucked in by it. It's not true. I just don't believe it at all. Not because of this. Okay? So, looking at a full-scale international force, 60% are not even looking at it. Very, very interesting. And then, the weirdest thing, to me, was that this was happening right in front of us, but there was no public announcement or any way for people to know what the heck was going on. Well, that's why I'm doing this video. People had become so desensitized, they were just laughing at it like it was a visual spectacle, and they had no idea of what was really going on. Thank you, David, Ricky T11, Tev Castro. Thank you, guys. This is so awesome. I really appreciate the help. This is exactly what happened in the video EC posted in response to this at 8:48 a.m., just over 2 hours after I finished writing it down, exactly enough time for a smart team to get together, have a meeting, and make a decision. So again, I believe that they're looking at my computer. They can read, just like NSA. They always have had this ability. They can read anything you journal in. You're not writing privately when you write a journal in your computer. It's on the cloud, okay? So for this reason, this dream comes in. It's very incredible. It's after 2 dreams in a row of Trump being really nice to me and telling me you have everything you need, you have all the evidence you need. And then we have this weird, amazing international invasion of Satan's lair with these weird orbs of light around the invasion, protecting them from any harm. Less than 2 hours after I wrote this all down, the Alliance came back with an utterly amazing, amazing briefing. Obviously, the tanks and soldiers were preparing to be shooting when they got up there. I didn't hear any sounds of weapons being used, but the Norwegian detachment was clearly one of multiple participating countries. And this is what we've been told is going on. And again, symbolic of the mass truck protests. I was aware that we would never get to see the action, but we would obviously need to be informed about what actually happened once it was already over, right? How much has that been going on? Once it's already over, then we're going to know. Well, that's what the dream was saying. I could see this entire sick, evil operation was finally being shut down, and the parasitic hold that it had over all the drunken high people would then be lifted, and they would be set free. It's really positive. It's sad that more people aren't paying attention to this, because if they would look at it, then they wouldn't be afraid anymore. This is really the key. Messages of reassurance. A corrective response has been issued, and we will all be saved as a result of this. Isn't that really great? I love this dream. The invading force is so massive that the control system at the top doesn't stand a chance. They're done. This is it. So this is a very, very definitive dream. And then again, the Alliance had a direct confirmation, Shadow of Ezra, within 2 hours. February 12th, they posted, "You'll find out," 8 seconds long, and it's a convoy of military vehicles hauling missiles, right? I could not believe this. I could not believe this. And so somebody wrote in a comment, just like you guys like to do for us here, and they're still happening. Dan Lewis, $80 Australian, mate. Thank you, Dan Lewis. Don't mean to make fun of your accent. I just love to. There's nothing I love more than accents. Somebody wrote this in one of the comments from your video, actually. You guys in the sidebar here actually wrote this. You'll find out as Trump's famous quip. That was a spoonerism. Trump's famous quip. Trump's famous quip when years ago a female reporter asked him, "What is the storm, Mr. President?" And he said, "You'll find out." So I guess we are close. So again, imminent, imminent, imminent. I mean, it's so amazing. And then 8 seconds leads us to post number 8 in the posts. Let's read that. And that's where, if you want to go find it, you just go there. Military intelligence state secrets. No FBI. POTUS installed his people within each top spot at each and every 3-letter agency except for one. Wow. So just stop and think about that for a second. If that's really true, that every single agency except for one is actually being covertly run by the Alliance, that's very, very intense. And the one agency, good reason there, is Admiral R. kickstarted this and scrubbed all nominations to verify the oath. Do you think they aren't in control of those respective agencies? Yeah. What is most valuable? Information. AG sessions on leakers, fire or prosecute. Reorganization is underway and happening. So once again, the point there is, yeah, it's actually happening. Jesus Arellano, $100 Mexican, thank you so much. Keep those coming. I really appreciate it. Then we get into the next thing, which is on February 13th, the day before Valentine's, where it was publicly announced that a traditional flying saucer shot down a nuclear missile. Here it is on Gateway Pundit. UFO reportedly caught on video shooting down nuclear warhead during test launch. Government made the footage disappear. So you can see the little saucer up there. This is Daily Mail's own illustration. It is, again, a Jesus and Mary flying saucer, just like the Miracle of the Snow from the 1400s. Same thing, okay, same thing. And what is it doing? It's disarming nuclear weapons. That's a main point. The positive ETs are not going to let us annihilate the planet. They did authorize COVID. They did allow that to happen. But COVID had to happen in order for this mass awakening that saves our planet to occur. And the death toll has been much lower than they wanted from creating these viruses and whatever else they were doing. And it does appear that it was man-made. So then here again is the flying saucer. They're talking about it. Taking out the nukes is exactly what we've been talking about. And there's that illustration. And again, there's apparently like 2 different videos up close of this actually happening that have been hidden by the government. And maybe they're going to try to make us afraid, say, oh my God, you know, you can't trust these aliens. You can't trust these horrible. No, they're not aliens. They're people. They're angels. And they're nice to us and they like us. And they're going to be meeting you in person when this happens. You're going to have direct contact with positive ETs. And I can't wait. I'm really excited about that. So I had another Demon House dream on February 15th that said something big is going to need to happen to awaken everybody. And in this case, everybody was wooed by the demonic in this dream. It was taking place in Los Angeles, and it was the same thing. There's all this images of horned demonic beings on the wall, face masks of demons on the wall, weird like images of dismembered human bodies, horrifying stuff, and everybody's just kind of like looking at it, and This was in LA. So it was like, wow, I realized at the end of the stream, something big is going to need to happen, because in all these dreams, the demonic stuff is influencing people by being looked at. The simple fact that you're looking at it actually causes it to influence you. And so you have to recognize what it is, recognize that it's not just fun. It's not like the cartoon Satanism. There's actually a very dark, evil thing going on that you don't want to be a part of, and you don't want to support it in any way, and you don't want to laugh about it and say, oh, yeah, they're into that stuff, but it's not a big deal. I don't really care. It doesn't affect me. Yes, it does, because if they want to get rid of everybody, it absolutely affects you. So again, everybody was wooed by this February 15th, and something big has to be done. That was the point of the dream. Something big has to be done. Well, then they responded to that again from the Alliance, this time through Dan Scavino again. They gave a direct confirmation. On the same day, Scavino gave the epic America Online prophecy in this post here on Twitter, February 15th, 10:36 p.m., where America Online is not logging in. And this, again, was very profoundly indicative of this idea that there's a coming nationwide internet outage. I had to put some fire on that for you, make it exciting. A little spice it up a bit, mate. You know what we do here. So then on the same day, around this time, you can look at previous posts of previous years. There's evidence that they might have been using this extraterrestrial time viewing technology called Project Looking Glass. I got briefed on this from multiple insiders. It even goes back to Alien Contact, a book by Timothy Good that came out, I think, in '93 or something, and it talks about that same idea. And again, this nationwide blackout is something that we've been hearing about for so long, that this was going to happen. And Dan Scavino posted this on the same day that I had a dream that said a major event is going to be necessary to wake people up. Well, then very shortly thereafter, we had it actually happen the following week. And we'll talk about that in a second. But then you also want, again, maybe the Q people had some kind of time viewing technology called Looking Glass, and therefore they post things in the past on the days that they come true in the future. That's called a delta. So like if it's February 15th, 2024, you go and you look at February 15th, 2018, 2019, maybe even through 2020, 2021, you find out, okay, did they say anything before that reflects on what's going on now? And it seems like the answer is yes. And this is less solid, less scientific, but still interesting. And this shows up at 10:36 p.m., 27 seconds in, is where that image comes in that we were talking about before, the AOL thing. And it was 27 seconds long. So, okay, if it's 27 seconds, if the video lasts 27 seconds, the first thing you want to do is check post number 27. Okay, they've done this hundreds of times. They have a video, it has a number of seconds of length, and then you read that post. So let's do that. All right. There's my dog groaning. She doesn't want the show to go on. You want the show to continue? I'm sure you do. Let's take a look over here. Oh, yeah, they're still coming in. Gail Walton, thank you guys so much. Anyway, we're going to finish the show. And we're going to get through all these slides. I'm almost done. Not everything can be publicly disclosed because so much ties back to foreign heads of state. Much will be revealed. But we also want transparency that is not at a cost we can't recover from. So these 5-year deltas, this one is post 2726. This is very interesting. February 15th, 2019. This is just a gingerbread that goes along with it. Be on the alert for the next 10 days. FF attempts may be carried out in an attempt to change the narrative, negative optics. High possibility of multi-day coverage event forcing the pause on news. And we have had more and more of these happening all the time. In the future, you're going to find out they're not random events. So many of them. Oh, there's a little light show for you. Here's another one from February 17th, 2019, which also seems relevant. This was on X22 report, by the way. Information waterfall, buckle up. And then they said traitors. And then they said the letter Q. So again, be on the alert for the next 10 days. Major FFs are coming in, and there's also going to be an information waterfall. Well, then it actually did happen. Okay, let's go back to this. It actually did happen where there was, in fact, a big blackout. And so On the day of the big blackout that lasted for 8 hours, this was February 19th, I had a dream where I was hanging out with Tucker Carlson in a war bunker. And this was very interesting because I was working with his team, and then all of a sudden they just started filming me. And they said, oh, well, you have to be on video right now. Oh, my God. So all of a sudden we're like doing an interview, and I had no preparation. I'm just thinking I'm in a private meeting, and all of a sudden they're filming it, and it's like, wow, I'm doing my show with Tucker Carlson right now. Holy crap. So that may be prophetic. I mean, he hasn't interviewed me yet, but I certainly will say yes if he asks. I'm happy to talk about all these things. So that was prophetic in a very strange way, right? Very interesting. Then I had another dream that was on February 20th telling me how the psychopathic brain has lost the ability to gain the type of angelic contact that I was enjoying. And then on the same day, February 20th, Scavino flags post number 38. He does this in this video. You can see it's 38 seconds long, February 19th, 2024. What is post number 38? Well, we're going to get through this, and then you're going to read it. November 2nd, 2017. 4 carriers and escorts in the Pacific. Why is that relevant? To prevent other state actors from attempting to harm us during this transition, including Russia and China, or conversely for North Korea, or all 3. So, isn't that interesting? And maybe it's talking about that NATO exercise. They want to keep everything calm as we go through this final exposure phase that we're in now. They don't want to have war. They're trying to prevent war from breaking out. It's not like there's going to be some big horrible thing. You might lose internet for a while, but when you're going to get this emergency messaging system, it's going to get very, very interesting at that point. So then he says, think logically about the timing of everything that's happening. Notice the increased military movement, which again is talking about right now. Notice National Guard deployment starting tomorrow. Notice false flags. Follow HUMA. Prepare messages of reassurance based upon what was dropped here to spread on multiple platforms, the calm before the storm. So to me, this was when I really said, oh shit, they need me out there. They need me to do a live stream. It's now almost 2.5 hours, but I am going to go a little bit over because I don't want to miss any of this. I want to get this done. We won't be 3 hours. We're going to be a little over 2.5 hours, but I'm pretty close. So again, this was very, very fascinating because at this point, all my resistance broke down. I said, holy crap, they need me out there. They need me to do a video. But I had this disgusting sty on my eye. It's still there just a tiny bit. I was having horrific wind, horrific snow, and it took a long time to get out. Only now has my weather really become nice again, where I can start to do videos like I did last week. Last week was the first one, but I spent the whole week shoveling, and I barely had any time to build slides. So now you're really getting granular about the information of what's going to happen in the future. So they want messages of reassurance. And again, this means it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be scary. You shouldn't be afraid of this. You shouldn't feel afraid of me or afraid of the information that I'm telling you. Olego Tropov, thank you for the donation. They're still coming in. So again, it's fascinating what's going on here. Messages of reassurance. It's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be a big, long blackout. It's not going to be people running out of food. It's not going to be horrible problems. It's actually much more peaceful than that because we've done everything right. So then, on the very next day, February 20th, a British nuclear submarine missile launch fails as a Trident misfires and plops into the sea just yards away. Defense Secretary Grant Shapps was on board the HMS Vanguard to witness the test. Now, what does that sound like? That sounds to me like this concept of the UFOs taking out nuclear missiles, which we just saw them post about, and then they did it. The UFOs are probably responsible for why this happened, folks. This is exactly what they do. Now, you didn't see, nobody reported a UFO sighting as the missile failed, but that's what they do. They hit it with a beam, and it becomes radioactively inert, and it can't even run anymore. So this is really, really fascinating. Now, on February 22nd, 2024, Dan Scavino flagged post number 59. I had never seen this before. This was so freaking great. Chris Farley is my favorite comedian. I will say that. I was the fat kid. And if you go back through history, going all the way back to Charlie Chaplin, The Little Tramp, all the way back through things like Monty Python, this comedy of Seth Rogen, the comedy of Jonah Hill, the comedy of Steve Carell, it's all nerd comedy. Nerd comedy is really hot. And nerds basically The way you do nerd comedy is like you do really silly things that are kind of dumb, but you're overconfident about it. That's one form of nerd comedy. I've done some of that before. And I love nerd comedy. And so there's people telling me they don't like Colin McGeezer, they don't like the Colin videos, because what am I doing? I'm using truth as a vehicle through comedy. So I did one you can watch on YouTube where he's talking about life cereal. And again, this is a tongue-in-cheek statement about how they apparently inserted anti-fertility stuff into these grains beginning in the early 1970s. So I did a whole comedy routine on that. Well, some people didn't like it. Almost everybody did, but a few people don't. And then they come back and they posted this, which is the most hilarious Chris Farley routine. I'd never seen it before. I've watched everything of his that I can. But there he is in Congress, and he's like, HR 216, done, bang. And he just keeps hitting the gavel, and he runs through it really fast. And he's actually in some part of Congress, and everybody is just laughing their heads off. Clearly, the alliance was telling me, we want you to keep on being funny. We want you to keep telling jokes. Don't worry about the haters. So I did listen. But again, it's also 59 seconds long. So that means we got to go and we got to look at post number 59. Remember, information is everything. The flow of information is no longer controlled by the mainstream media, but by you and others. Hence why we are dedicating critical time to distribute these crumbs, which can be followed in greater detail to paint the entire picture once more information is released. Why has the president dedicated so much time labeling the mainstream media as fake news? Why is this relevant? So we are the mainstream media now. That's what they're saying. We are fully prepared that all social media will be shut down to prevent the spread of this information. That's exactly what he said before, the AOL thing. Now, like a day or two later, he says this. It's incredible. Clearly, they're sending us a real message. I mean, do you honestly think I'm BSing you at this point? Do you honestly, oh, David's making it all up. Come on, man. That's the Biden line, right? Come on, man. Try not to make fun of Biden. I feel sad for him in some ways, you know. Sealed federal orders pre-submitted as prevention and masked as in general, though that does not account for rogue agents and programmers within. Dates of impending actions, which now they're giving us again, are deliberately provided for authenticity, Alice and Wonderland. Sealed federal orders pre-submitted as prevention and masked as in general. That's 13848 right there. They're telling you everything you need to do, everything you need to know. All social media will be shut down. They predicted the AOL thing, and then guess what happens? The very next day, February 22nd, is our great 8-hour internet blackout. We also get the double message from Shadow of Ezra once again here, where he says Black Swan year. That may suggest it's going to last longer than just a few weeks, but who knows? And again, this is a video from the movie Leave the World Behind, which is about this massive blackout, which then leads to some sort of extinction level event or end of the world war scenario, nuclear, who knows what it's going to be, but she's just going to watch Friends and say, F it, I don't even care. I love this skit. Gotta read some of this stuff. Somebody just said, I love this skit. David, you are homosexual. No, I'm not, actually. One of the characters I really loved is the gay character. I grew up in a gay college. I was in the art dorm, Boughton Hall, right across from the art building. There were lots of homosexuals around, and they were really, really funny, and everybody was competing to who could be the gayest of the gay. And I picked up a lot of techniques from that. I saw so much comedy, gay comedy around me. I loved it. Actually, I ended up thinking it was really funny because it was every day in the food court. There's nothing you could do about it. And people are talking like this. Oh my God, it's so sweet. Oh my God, you're so sweet, sweetie. No, come here. I love you, baby. Oh my God. I mean, that's what it was like all the time. So now I've kind of imprinted and I have gay characters, but I've always been heterosexual. I'm not afraid to joke about it, okay? That's all it is. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't be looking at my comments if that's what you guys are going to say. My God. No, there's a lot of really great stuff on here. Awesome. When will you release this meditation, Spirit of Wisdom? Well, we've already got the online course finished. So there's 11 hours. They're already finished. TheDisclosure.com. Code Jubilation gives you $83 off. I've already done it. You can get all 7 books, 11 different videos, which go into way more depth on all this stuff than I'm doing now. Really amazing stuff. Okay. So back to slide. This was a scene from Leave the World Behind. It says this is how Leave the World Behind started. And the word black swan, again, is very specific, referring to economic collapse. So I'm going to read you the transcript from the video. If you are an AT&T customer, this is in the show that Obama made. You want to listen up to this. This is an outage reportedly spreading across the entire country. Remember, EC posted this. Ezra Cohen posted this. Many people are waking up saying that their phones are partially or fully not even working. This we absolutely should expect is going to happen. Okay, this is part of the scenario. Social media sites are currently flooded with complaints from AT&T customers saying they do not have service or they can only send text messages. It appears to have started around 4 o'clock this morning. Holy crap, wait till you see this, okay? 4 o'clock this morning. Some say even earlier. We're reaching out to AT&T for details about this outage. We'll bring you any update as soon as we get it. Remember 4 o'clock in the morning. And then we got post number 34, which was again in the runtime of the video that they chose to use. This is a very, very big one. Q Clearance Patriot. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, and again, we're already pretty much past several days now, but it's showing me this is a very short time window. They predicted the internet blackout, right? Over the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we are taking back our great country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refuge of shining light. Now, do you really think that they did this randomly? Oh, they just did 34 seconds. No, it's no big deal. No, come on. This is a comm. This is a deliberately targeted communication. And somebody's just sent me another donation, Teresa Farley. Please talk about Russell Gould and his claim that the U.S. Constitution ended in 1999 due to the U.S.'s alleged final bankruptcy. I mean, there's so many things that we're going to learn that are not the way we thought they were. I don't know about that one per se, but there's a lot of strange stuff. So again, in the next several days, you will realize that we are taking back our country from evil tyrants. This is crazy. On POTUS's order, we've initiated certain fail-safes to safeguard the public from the primary fallout slated to occur 11.3 upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta, actionable 11.4. Now, I did this 4 years ago. Didn't have time to get into all of it today. But if you go into the Department of Defense Law of War Manual, Section 11.3, it talks about an occupying power and how you handle when a hostile foreign country has invaded your country. And what they talk about is something called devolution. And that word refers to the idea of having a continuity of government plan. It's not announced to the public. It's under the surface. The apparent regime is allowed to remain in office, but then behind the scenes, they're doing all this stuff. And the Law of War Manual, Section 11.3, goes into great detail on what they're going to do. And they are doing it. So that's what I'm talking about right here. Devolution interregnum, which means in between two leaders, continuity of government. Confirmation to the public of what is occurring will then be revealed, and it will not be openly accepted. Well, finally, we're about to reach this point, folks, so get ready. Public riots are being organized by the DS in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On President's order, a state of temporarily military control will be actioned and special ops will be carried out, including this underground stuff we've been talking about. Pretty amazing. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. This is very important. They have to say things that are not true. This is why T continues to say at occasional moments things that appear to be supporting the inoculations. These are the false leaks. It's talked about right here. They have to maintain a certain amount of disinformation, and that includes him apparently saying positive things, because honestly, if he didn't, they would attack him as being anti-V, and so they avoided that by having him appear to say that it's okay, but it doesn't take much intelligence to figure out what's really going on here, all right? Rest assured, the safety and well-being of every man, woman, and child of this country is being protected in full. Exhausted might not have been the right choice of words, so I fixed it for them. They get mad at me, so be it. We'll fight about it later on. I'll fight with them later about, why didn't you let it be exhausted? Well, because it's not really the right word choice. Sorry, you guys. You had a verbal flub just this once, but I forgive you. However, the atmosphere within this country will unfortunately be divided, as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. This is exactly what my Demon House streams are all talking about, the evil narrative. And people do believe it. I mean, like, it's amazing to find out that people don't have the information that I have. They don't think about, well, the military wasn't wearing any sigils on their uniforms. They didn't give them the Air Force One. They didn't give them the football. There's something really weird going on. Yeah, it's called devolution, and it's in Section 11.3 of the Law of War Manual. It's right there. Many have fallen for it, but we will all be protected in full. We will be initiating the Emergency Broadcast System, or EMS, Emergency Message System, during this time. Now, this is the very near future. We are about to get this, folks. This is about to happen. I'd say any day, maybe even this coming week. I have no idea. But I am not going to presume that they sent all these comms out and then they're not going to do anything. I don't believe that. Organizations and or people who wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. So don't go outside. Don't try to fight back. Just hang out in your house. Don't get out there, okay? It's very important. We are not advocating any type of violence at all. Don't do anything. Please don't do anything. Swift fury. Taylor Swift? Oh, that's a joke. Okay. No, that's not the kind of Swift they're talking about. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad. That's, again, like the 13848 thing. So then the big outage actually happened on February 22nd, right after they'd predicted it. User reports indicate problems at AT&T. All these different providers are down. Now, however, Twitter wasn't down, Truth Social wasn't down, Rumble wasn't down. So, is this solar activity that caused this? Obviously not. What the heck is going on here? This is something the DS is doing because they want to turn it off entirely, most likely. And that's where this is going. So then check this out. This is when the outages began, and it occurs starting at 4 o'clock a.m. That spike that you see on this graph is exactly at 4 o'clock, which is right when Obama's show said it was going to happen. That's really, really crazy. Okay, so once again, social media sites are currently flooded with complaints from customers saying they do not have service. It appears to have started around 4 this morning. Some say even earlier. We're reaching out for details. Then Ezra Cohen on his normal Twitter page said the adults have lost control of the American airspace. U.S. is tracking a high-altitude balloon flying over the western part of the country. Military aircraft spotted the balloon, determined it is not a threat. The balloon is drifting east. Now, in this case, I had to think about this. What in the world are they talking about? The adults have lost control of American airspace. Well, the adults are not what you think they are. The adults actually refers to the deep state. And why? I think the metaphor is they act like parents. They're shaming you. They're annoying. They discipline you. They punish you. They're bullies. And we're all like the kids being punished by the adults. And as a kid, it doesn't seem like you can fight back. It doesn't seem like there's anything you can do. And everything that we're doing is Gandhi-level peaceful resistance stuff. So they said, again, the adults have lost control of American airspace. This means the military, white hats, or whatever you want to call them, the patriots, they're in control. Patriots are in control. That was one of the things in the posts. The DS cannot use American airspace to do anything to try to hurt us. That's been removed. If the balloon was going to hurt us, it was intercepted by the military, and they made sure it wasn't a threat because they don't want anybody popping off an EMF or anything like that. The very next day, they referred to visiting angels, and I have to assume that this is talking about Archangel Michael. But in this case, T had posted this on his Instagram account, and it's 11 seconds long, and it's basically Biden going into this nursing home called Visiting Angels. Well, the Visiting Angels, Archangel Michael. That's very, very interesting. So let's look at post number 11, because they're giving us that comm. October 29th, 2017. They're explaining what the key is to understand what's happening. It's military intelligence versus these three-letter agencies. No approval or congressional oversight. State secrets are upheld under the Supreme Court. Who is the commander-in-chief of the military? That would be the president. Under what article can the president impose military intelligence takeover investigations for the three-letter agencies? Wow. What conditions must present itself? It has to be an insurrection. Why is this so very important? Who surrounds POTUS? They lost this very important power the one area of the government not corrupt, directly serving POTUS. So once again, the comms are very clear. They keep making posts. They keep giving you a certain number of seconds. They referred to Archangel Michael, the visiting angel, and then they said post number 11, and it says military intelligence take over investigations of three-letter agencies. And the other one they posted said that those three, the FBI, CIA, are the only ones that are not already being run by the good guys. So then on February 24th, I had another one of these demon house dreams. And in this case, the demonic energy was referred to as these weird reddish kind of round tumors that had some strands coming off them, and they were growing in the corners like spider webs, but they were big. I mean, they were like this big. And in this case, the dream was saying that they were broadcasting thoughts into your mind to make you hate yourself. But I was part of this military team that was removing the tumors. Now, this was really strange because I had this dream, and before I even wrote it down, I went and clicked over to Zero Hedge, and they had this image on there, which really looked very, very similar to the tumors in my dream. So that's another way in which the higher forces, Archangel Michael, is using this future prophecy to let me know what they're up to, and that, yeah, the tumors are being removed. And they refer to tumors a lot in the books, Michael books as well. So then Trump actually comes out and tells B that he's fired on February 24th. To achieve a great future, we first have to throw off the chains of our out-of-control political class, which begins with telling crooked blah, 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 you're fired. Wow. Wow. Then on the same speech, same day, at CPAC, he outed the TV generals. And I'm going to zoom in on the top. Holy shit, there it is, clear as day. Trump is not only telling you he has great generals, not the TV generals. He straight up said the TV generals were fake. PSYOP, PSYWAR, the Great Awakening, the pause. The people had to be shown, not told. So again, going back a couple lines here, he said, you're fired. That again does not sound like a typical election at all. It sounds like something happening sooner than that. Throw off the chains of our out-of-control political class to achieve a great future. All of these comms are interconnected, folks. And then he also says that the generals that we're seeing are not the real ones, which again is 13848, DOD 11.3, whatever you want to call it. It's real, okay? He's telling you that they are fake. The very next day, they did this four horsemen thing. It was incredibly disturbing. Behold a pale horse. His name that sat upon him was Death, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Now, this actually was done in England, and what we found out is that the pale horse represents the king. There's two horses that are black, and they're marching with a captured white horse, and the two black horses have a black umbrella that they're carrying in between. It looks very scary. It looks like something out of Harry Potter and the Dementors. It's like, what in the world is going on here? I don't even understand this thing. Like, what are they saying? So it's a very, very strange thing. But again, the communications were that the pale horse in these English traditions represents the king. And it's a tradition that you never bring out a white horse without the king or the queen riding on it. Okay? That's a very, very important part of the story. So, who is represented by the white horse exactly? Well, they already said Charles is not really in power anymore, and normally the horse represents the king. But then, this was February 25th, the very next day, folks. On February 26th, there's another four horsemen message, and this was the day that the head of the Rothschild family died. Now, I can only assume the British government itself had to be behind this because they announced it the day before. They marched out the white horse suggesting that he was the unofficial king of England. But they stopped it. They stopped it. So, again, this suggests British alliance government involvement. Just to see how much they're panicking, February 27th, Germany builds a moat around the Reichstag, a foolish project that invites attacks. Like they think it's going to stop whatever is happening. I mean, like literally we're back to medieval thinking. It's crazy. The trench is a reaction to the storming of the Reichstag, and they want to defend against right-wing protesters who tried to get in there in 2020. Well, it's a very strange time for them to be doing that. Then on February 28th, we're finally getting right near the end now. He discussed wildfires. He says they're climate change false flags to displace farmers and ranchers being done using two methods. Number one, arsonists like in Canada. Number two, DEWs like we saw with Maui. And there's a lot of stuff on that we could talk about. So then I had a dream where I was personally responsible for having to tell Kamala, I'm sorry, you're not going to be working as vice president anymore, but you're also not in trouble. And she was going to be allowed to go free. And so she was so happy that she wasn't going to be like assassinated or something like that. She was almost crying. This was a very strange dream. So it happened on March 1st. And the same day, we have the strange UFO sighting over the battlefield of Ukraine. Ukrainian drone operator films a large UFO over the war zone in Donetsk. Now, I've looked at this closely, and I think it's one of those flying triangles from the side. These are one of ours. The deep state has these. It is a weapons platform. It's basically a stealth blimp, and it can blow the hell out of anybody that tries to get near there. So they are worried about Russia trying to do something in Ukraine, and the last technology they have left to fight back is this flying blimp that has lots of weapon systems on, including particle beams. So look, this is all happening. They are defending against whatever they are thinking is going to be the last stage. At the same time, on March 1st, we have these huge wildfires in cow country, scorching over 1 million acres, right where 80% of all of our beef supply is grazing. So this looks very much like an attack. Then on March 4th, they again mentioned the green lasers in the sky. March 4th also is this epic leak out of Germany. The leaked plan to destroy the Crimean Bridge, yeah. Senior German officers discussed using missiles, training, and the capabilities of the system to destroy this bridge. Wow. Then on the same day, we have the Supreme Court actually show a burst of sanity, despite all the anti-rhetoric that's out there. Justice Barrett said, for present purposes, our differences are far less important than our unanimity. All 9 Supreme Court justices agree on the outcome of this case. That is the message Americans should take home. And if you remember what that was, they were trying to keep him off the ballot in Colorado. And again, we're going to keep it to 3 hours. I'm almost there. We're right near the end. Then on March 5th, 2024, we have Super Tuesday. And we already know that the results were that Trump won every single state except for Vermont. And probably the people who vote for Nikki there were not really Republicans at all. They were just doing it out of spite. So on this day, we have another weird blackout. What are the odds? And they even posted it in the Shadow of Ezra stuff. Super Tuesday. And so this is crazy. I mean, like, are you really going to try to tell me after I've spent 3 hours giving you just fact? You're going to tell me all this stuff is fake, that I made this up, that I'm delusional, that I'm channeling this, it's not real? You think I'm lying to you? You think they're not going to do anything? You think they did all of this? Oh, well, they don't really care. They're not going to really do anything. We're just going to wait until November anyway. No, dude. Come on. Wake up. Figure it out. Here's another thing. The very next day, hundreds of underground explosions in Detroit. Could you even believe it? Child tunnels? You bet. Satan stuff? You bet. That's what they're going up against. They already told us in the briefings. It just freaked me out because it wasn't like one boom. It was continuous and it was very intense. Just in, hundreds of Michigan industrial explosions rock the suburbs of Detroit. Let's read the bottom. Hundreds of explosions from an industrial building fire shook a Detroit suburb on Monday night, eruptions sending debris and canisters flying far into the air, leading authorities to warn people to remain indoors. Most likely, this is a military operation. The explosions that you're hearing is some huge underground horrific facility where horrific things are happening, and it's all being invaded and attacked. Maybe the fire was started by the bad guys. Maybe they wanted to do that because, who knows? I mean, I have no idea what's going on. But again, it says it just freaked me out because it wasn't one boom. It was continuous and very intense. This is exactly what you would expect the U.S. military doing underground operations. The very same day, March 5th, we found out that B has secretly flown 320,000 into the U.S. on private airliners. Yep. It's not a conspiracy theory. There's a reason why half of the DIA airport, Denver airport, you can't get through it. I'll have a video of that next time. They've walled off baggage carousels. They walled off huge areas, and they're checking people in right in front of you. If you could see through the wall, there's a standing line of people on the other side who aren't really supposed to be here. Okay, that's what's going on. Then on the same day, Germany practices another, they're paranoid again. It's not enough to build a moat. Now they're practicing an emergency move to go to a secret alternative headquarters without any specific reason for training. Now they're pretty scared, huh? Same day, Trump sweeps every state except Vermont. And, you know, she doesn't want to do a concession speech. I understand that, but it's kind of rude. And then on March 7th is just a personal thing, but I figured out, I've been doing body work for God knows how many years now, that I was always tensing my big toe and pushing down on my big toe when I would walk. And I'm finally training my feet not to do that. We're at 2 hours, 44 minutes for the whole show. And I'm just about done. So just a few small pieces left. I had another dream. At the end of the movie Time Bandits, there was this evil being that explodes and it turns into a bunch of little pieces. And all the little pieces had to be cleaned up. And if you remember the movie Time Bandits at the end, there's one piece left in the toaster and it's still glowing. It's like, oh man, they didn't defeat evil after all. So in this dream, I had to shovel and I had to shovel up these pieces of the blown up evil and I just had a few more left and everything was going to be fine. So again, this suggests imminent change is coming. Then we had on March 8th, my birthday. Yes, I'm now 51 years old. Thank you, everybody. Happy birthday to me. There's a credit card in my phone. I don't know how to do it. You probably won't get the hundreds of dollars I wanted to send you. Well, sorry about that. I love this skit. Whoever it was, Farley crushed it. David is telling the truth. I'm in the Foothill Farms area of Sacramento. We've been having weird explosions at night throughout our neighborhood. It's not constant, just a few explosions that nobody seems to notice. That's very interesting. Sacramento. Doesn't surprise me at all. Okay, so there's lots of this kind of, let me make sure I'm not clicking the wrong things. This is Wonderland, all right. Will they ban Halloween this time? Bye-bye toe tensing, gorgeous eye candy, XXX, love and light. Well, I don't want to be objectified, but thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm not a sex object, you know. I'm just a person, man. But I do like it. So anyway, thank you. It's better than hating me, okay? Telling me I'm sexy is better than hating me. So thank you for that. So again, on the same day as my birthday, there's these 3 different jet incidents. And remember they said no planes, right? United's Boeing 737 MAX veers off the runway. 3rd incident in a week. Somebody had a wheel fall off. And then he says, don't forget, I posted this on September 23rd, 2023. Castle Rock, Castle Lock, stay off airplanes that winter. Remember, he also said 17 days till winter is coming. No planes. That was December 21st. Finally, oh my God, it brings us up to the present. And it definitely appears that something is about to happen. So I'm going to end out the show with slides that I originally made in January 2021 when I still thought that they weren't going to let Biden be inaugurated. I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea we were going to go through 4 years of this crap. I'm really ready to be over with this, man. I'm really ready for this whole thing to be over. So I'm going to use some of the slides that I pulled out from my original show from 2021. I just changed it to January 2021. But otherwise, these are all the same. Now remember, this intel was circulating in January right after the inauguration and before the inauguration even. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if all these alliance things were going to take place right then. But it's very revealing. What we see and what we hear is very, very revealing. This is incredible stuff. Check this out. You're not going to believe this. First of all, when I pulled up the video, it had 3,333 views and it had 333 subscribers. So it says, great voice, watch immediately. And then here's the whole title. His name is Filthy Rags. He has 333 subscribers and he's got 3,333 views. Now that is not planned. I couldn't have possibly planned this. But these things happen to get my attention and to get your attention. Look at that, the 333. And I had to obviously stop it at 33 seconds on a 2-minute and 33-second video. This is incredible. I mean, that right there made me get really curious about, okay, I'm supposed to pay attention to this. He's reporting on alleged leaked intel from the U.S. military. This is what I transcribed his video. Are you serious? Are you serious, guys? This is some information that was sent to me from one of the MAGA groups out there. An Air Force pilot received this information in a secret briefing, and he spilled the beans. He shouldn't have done it, or she. Oh, he. He then sent it to his father-in-law, and this is what it says. And I'm actually glad in this case. Normally I don't support illegitimate leaking of information, but in this case I'm very glad he leaked this because it's going to tie everything together. Look at this, man. This is crazy. He got a briefing in the Air Force. He sent it to his father-in-law. This is what he heard. We need 100% of the people indoors to see what the United States military is going to broadcast on everyone's televisions worldwide. The emergency messaging service does have video capability, folks. This is a very important point. There will be videos. It's going to be very, very painful because you're going to learn about these people doing horrible things. But we can no longer have the people divided. I mean, wow. Wait till you hear what happens. Around Sunday or Monday, this is what the briefing was. Obviously, it wasn't true. It's taken a lot longer than this to happen. But again, the core of the briefing is there. The President of the United States will send out a message saying, my fellow Americans, the storm is upon us. We go into some type of full global martial law. And again, this is a protective thing. It's not like they're going after citizens. It's just to save the planet, whatever they have to do. The President will be on Air Force One airborne, probably for his own protection, when he sends out 7 presidential messages. We've never heard that before, huh? 7 messages to everyone's phones and TV sets worldwide on the emergency messaging system. So I've heard before, there's a series of videos that are going to be released. This pinpoints it at 7. From there, all global military via the U.S. military will shut down all media. That's internet, social media, phones, and all television. They will all be under one channel on emergency service. It means you can't watch anything else. And there, the U.S. military will broadcast 10 days of this storm. And then what was so weird was that in the Michael prophecies, one of his prophecies is 10 days of happy trial 17. He actually had the same number of days, 10 days, in the prophecy. It's crazy. So 7 shows, 10 days. Once you've watched all 7 shows, you'll have seen it. But that's all there is going to be to watch. 10 days of sessions that will include, are you waiting for this? 3 hours of video confessions of people who have already been on military tribunals and confessed to what they were really doing, but they're still walking around. Okay? They've been brought in secretly. They go back to their lives, but they've already confessed. It will be tons of evidence for the scandal that is talked about as the storm. While this is happening, they will be removing governments, making global arrests, and all of this will be going on. Americans will be getting arrested around the globe. Some of them, if they're, responsible for the most heinous stuff. Doesn't mean they're going to be executed. Just means they're being arrested, going to jail. Not just here in the United States, but in other parts of the world. And people from around the world who have participated in this coup attempt against the president. So again, the emergency alert system right here. It's a national public warning system allowing the president to address the American people within 10 minutes during a national emergency. Sent through broadcasters, satellite digital audio, direct broadcast satellite TV, cable TV, and wireless cable. Now here, they're only claiming MP3s. If you look down at the 3rd checkpoint, messages support message text for screen crawl, audio attachments, and MP3 in additional languages. There's a relationship with the broadcaster to understand what will be aired by radio, TV, and cable based on policies which vary from station to station. So look, it does have video components. We've learned about this, and this is going to be happening. So back from my same January 2021 show, I also included this slide where he said, my supporters will have a giant voice and will not be disrespected. This is January 8th, 2021. Giant voice is a code term for this very same military mass emergency notification system, or one that's very similar. And there it is. Military bases, giant voice, military mass notification systems. As a tenured recipient of military contracts for giant voice, military mass notification, and military emergency alert systems, American Signal Corporation maintains a refined understanding of the expectations and qualifications required to execute systems, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Immediately after he posted this tweet referring to the emergency military communication system and making reference to the emergency message system that this other briefing had, that's when his account got taken down. And it wasn't just one. All these platforms suddenly jumped up to ban him at the same time. What did he really say? He said giant voice. That's why it happened. Okay? That's why it happened. So let's see. What do I want to do right now? I want to get right to our meditation, because this is the last. I didn't know how long it would take to get through the rest of these slides, but I can actually keep it to 3 hours if we do this right now. So again, here's you guys coming in. What does that mean? Wow, you gave me $100. Thank you so much. There's a lot of these, and let's read a few more comments before we close out the show. Why not ask Andrew Tate or Elon Musk for money? They're one of the good guys. Well, you know, I'm not against that. I certainly, we welcome investors. It's just been very difficult. We do have some very significant stuff happening with the U.S. military and with certain other capital partners. I basically just have to survive for however long it takes until we can get some of these deals in. But again, my purpose is free energy, anti-gravity, the real crown jewels that will save our planet, garbage cleanup technology, all this kind of stuff is now within our grasp. David Applegren sent me $111 of SEKs, whatever SEK is, South, I don't know. Anything about Georgia Guidestones being destroyed? Happy birthday, David. Thanks for everything. I did do a show on that way back in the day on Gaia about the Georgia Guidestones. I could cover that again. But anyway, right now, we don't want to go past 3 hours because then nobody wants to watch it. So let's do our meditation. Let me get into the right. See, my face turns white. That's how I can, there's these focus lines that let me know if I'm in perfect focus. That's what we have to do now. So, all right, without further ado, I'd like you to close your eyes, put both feet flat on the floor. I'll do the same thing. Let yourself take a nice deep breath. As you breathe deeply, feeling your breaths rise and fall quite naturally. I encourage you to look at all these communications, not with fear, not with terror. Go back to the dream where everyone was invading Sauron's temple, the core of the evil. There is something going on here, folks. There's an international thing going on. And as you relax more and more, you just allow yourself to feel, yeah, it's going to be all right, you know? This has nothing to do with the guy they wanted me to hate, or very little. It's much older than that. And even if you don't think you like him, well, things are going to happen. Things are going to happen that are very good. Things are going to happen that we've desperately needed for so long. And as you keep breathing, send your healing energy, just like those orbs of light that I saw around the convoy in my dream. Send your healing energy to the members of the Alliance who are having to go through these horrific underground tunnels, who are having to see these very disturbing things when they go down there, saving many, many people, and extracting whatever they can. Think back to the 888 formation, how the crop circle makers answered me, the way that I drew that formation in the website post I made, and then the very next day, bang, out comes the formation. And it was all flagging these documents that were seized in 2008 in the South Ossetia trial. All of this is building up to something. And as you keep breathing more and more, breathe in love, breathe in harmony, breathe in the visualization of a successful, peaceful outcome that we all get to co-create together as you are living and walking through history in real time. The events that are happening right now in the world are all part of a continuum. And this continuum is leading up to an ecstatic reunion with our galactic family. They have told us that once we face the fear, once we're no longer in denial, we face the evil, and we clean it out, that incredible, incredible things are going to happen, including the first wave of ascension, as I talked about last time, a massive, spontaneous, multidimensional evolution in our level of consciousness. Even now, as you breathe in oxygen, feel yourself rising, feel that ascension taking place. The last 2 Q posts talking about this, that protect your DNA. Right now, you protect your DNA by surrounding yourself and all others with light. Imagine the healing taking place. Imagine yourself learning to be more patient, more forgiving, and not to be so angry when people hurt your feelings or say something unkind. Forgiveness is the stopping of the wheel of karma. Send your energy to the militaries who are participating in this world-saving initiative. Let's pray for them. Let's pray for minimal, if not no loss of life, that it's all going to happen very, very peacefully. There's not going to be a lot of pushback or a lot of bad things that go down. And if this happens, let's say it does happen, I just encourage you, if you notice that there's an internet blackout, if you notice that things seem to be very strange, if the messaging system comes on, if these 7 videos start airing over the course of 10 days, just breathe and know you were told about this in advance. This is real. This is happening. This is not science fiction. I'm not making it up. I didn't falsify this information. And as you breathe, you just say, it's okay, man. The military saw this was a problem long before I did. They were on it. John F. Kennedy was on it. Howard Hughes was on it. Eisenhower was on it. And in fact, his general, Patton probably knew about the plan too, and then he had to reincarnate, as we said last time, to help finish it. Send this love not only to all those serving in the armed forces, send it to all those who are unable to see the truth or unwilling to see the truth. And you can be a guiding light for them, help explain to them what happened as this all unfolds. And then send the light to yourself. As you keep breathing, imagine yourself transforming, becoming a being of pure light and love. And so it is. All right, I'm still at actually 3 minutes, so I'm going to cut it right there. And I want to thank you all for watching. This has been incredible. I can't believe I got it all done in 3 hours. Thank you again. We will see you soon. I hope all is well in your life. And thanks for being with me today. We'll talk soon. I'll be back next week, hopefully.